Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you. On behalf of Architects and Interiors India, I thank you all for joining us today in a gathering that exudes art and design from each corner. I'm Shiraz Khan and I'll be your host for the evening. Architects and Interiors India's flagship property design debate is all about taking on contested topics in the field of architecture and design. A phenomenal initiative, Design Debate is a multi city event where every month we head to an exciting new city. We've conducted over 33 editions so far and traveled across the country. And it gives me immense pleasure that we are conducting our 34th edition in a city that is home to the majestic Lakshmi Vilas Palace and locally referred as the Kala Nagri, the city of art, Vadodara. You'll be hearing a lot more about the theme of the year, monumental architecture versus inclusive architecture, from everyone present here tonight. We are delighted and grateful to bring together the experts from the world of architecture and design, some of whom have also traveled all together from Mumbai, Delhi, and Ahmedabad, respectively, to share their thoughts and views and also to celebrate and grace this event with their presence. We are looking forward to some of the absolutely brilliant names who will soon be taking the stage. So, welcome to this evening, replete with knowledge sharing, and let us have a huge round of applause for Architects and Interiors India's Design Debate, the Vadodara edition. To begin with, let me call on stage Mr. Bibhor Srivastava, Managing Director Events, ITP Media Group, the person who has created and built this platform to kindly deliver the opening speech. Please join me to welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Good evening and a very, very warm welcome to this beautiful city of Baroda. It really brings a lot of fond memories. I was telling this afternoon over a lunch. Many years back, actually, I was transferred from Indian Express to Baroda, good about 2000, and 2 years stint. But this city is so enchanting, so loving, and so caring. And there's something about this city which is very enamoring. And I'm truly blessed to come here. And the last slide said, we are the number one. We are obsessed with numbers, but I don't think we measure. We measure, instead of measuring, we treasure you, treasure each and every community. And I'm so happy to see Mitali Kudekar, our ex-editor, Architect Interiors India. Give a big hand for her as well. She's been there and supported us. What you saw in 2.5 minutes is basically the journey that started about more than a decade back. Like any other industry, and your industry, we are also flooded with many titles, many events, many programs. We really don't know what to do with it. But at the heart of it, it's important that we understand the community, we understand the fraternity, and we remain unique to navigate and to make the kind of the torchbearer to the industry, to tell what's happening in that industry and what is the foresight. Sharaz said, the man who did this, so that's wrong. I think there's a battery of very talented young team members who worked, tirelessly to create these meaningful, neutral, and credible platform which allows knowledge sharing at the highest level. When we were looking at this community and we saw there are many forums that exist in the country today, and I said, how can we create something which is different, which is fresh, which sparks ideas and debate and collaboration and ideation? That really gave birth to design debate. When we started with another topic, technology versus tradition. The last year, we said aesthetics versus economics, and this year, we're talking about monumental architecture versus inclusive architecture. I have Mr. Mohit Hajela, one of the very profound industry expert, and he really understands the real pulse of the designers. And for many a time, we always get to believe, Mohitji, that you're not, but you are an architect yourself. I'm sure you will learn to and hear from him as well. Yes, Mohitji. So I think what we believe, and I was talking to our publishing director, Indrajit Saoji, the man, very dependable. You can give him a hand, the man with the Nehru jacket. And I think that's what makes you special, when you've got a great battery of people working with you, believing in you, and always staying at the top to say that we are really here and we're making a difference. So ladies and gentlemen, I think at ITP Media, we're very proud to whatever we do, we are trying to create an impression. We are trying to create through design debate a thread of discussion to create that uniqueness. And I think we got incredible friend Rahul Dalvi. Where are you? Oh, the man again, the salt and pepper, Hitesh, Dipen Gada, and all the wonderful people here. And I think Baroda recently went through, terrible times in terms of rain playing and havoc. And I said, Rahul, I'm coming to your city, and things were bad here. I said, how do we curate and how we get some prolific speakers and speakers that we really look up to and listen to and learn from? So Rahul Dalvi, our curator, a big, big thank you for the gentleman. Been very kind enough. Don't be conservative when you applaud. So let's hear it one more time for him. Thank you very much. And Huzefa Rangwala, our keynote speaker here. And I think his body of work and his background and how he accidentally went into architecture, that turned out to be a blessing in disguise. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to hold it anymore. 2 cents for these partners, Jaguar, Shuko, and MRF Brains. We trust you, love you, and like you. Keep, continuing to shower your love. And I think it's been possible evening because you've been there standing like rock solid behind us. Thank you. Like you, I'm here to learn. And I'm sure that a couple of hours is going to be equally interesting and a lot to take away. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Architects in Interiors India and our partners have always been grateful for the presence and support of the design and architecture fraternity. And to express gratitude and to welcome our esteemed speakers, our delegates, and everyone present here who have contributed in making this event happen, I'd like to call upon Mr. Mohit Hajela, Group Head Business Development from Jaguar, India. to please come on stage and kindly deliver the welcome address. Can we have a huge round of applause?
Good evening, Vadodara. It's absolutely wonderful to be amongst friends. And first and foremost, I would say hats off to the indomitable spirit of the city that makes Vadodara what Vadodara is. Somebody said it is known as the city of art. I would say it is a city of learning, a city which has produced some of the finest design luminaries who are as practicing designers, as academicians, and also the students who are still continuing to complete their program into graduation and post-graduation. Believe me, you people are the real heroes. So a big hand to Vadodara, I should say. You call it Vadodara now, no longer Baroda. I mean, braving these floods is amazing. Thank you so much. And we could never imagine that we will be able to host this event almost about a week, 10 days back. Now, talking about our association with ITP Media, it goes without saying, we have had a long stint of association, a very, very strong and valued partnership. And I would say that it's the convergence of design philosophy, the convergence of our core shared values that makes, and so happy to see even the erstwhile editor, being here. I think it's good to see such a strong patronage from the city and the designer community. Coming to the topic, monumental architecture versus inclusive architecture. I don't think so. I mean, I would be more like have my observations coming more as a bystander. It was very sweet of Vibho to qualify and classify me as an architect. But if you keep good friends and good company, I think there you can have a lot of rub-off effect that comes on you. But again, I think it's there to stay. But few thoughts which, I always, coming as a brand strategist and a corporate governance guy, and some of my core observations also around the topic, I think I'd like to share that. See, I think when we talk about monumentality, I like to look at that, can architecture take us back to the past? And at the same time, can it prepare us to face the challenges of the future? Is it possible that we are able to reverse the time machine without having a very, very careful understanding of monumentality? Though monumentality has become a broader term, a broader approbation applied to structures of all kinds, and that are seen as pinnacles of the art of building and as representing the cultures from which they have arisen. But four common qualities which I see when I look at monumentality is a sense of permanence or of proceeding from a remote past, an embedding of the building within a particular landscape or urban setting, an assertion of imposing effect or strength, and most importantly, a projection of public values and political authority. I think it's the combination of these all four elements which essentially associate to the way monumental building classifies. India boasts of a very, very strong architectural heritage. I think the marvel and magnificence of Indian architecture dates back to a very, very glorious legacy that we celebrate of ancient architecture, to again the splendor of the Mughal architecture, and something that we very, very more recently observe as impact and impressions coming from the colonial architecture. But I think it's again every invasion, every colonial rule has taught us something. We have been able to imbibe, we have been able to engage with the built form, and we are all able to qualify and appreciate buildings which represent us embodied as a culture, as heritage, a pedigree, a provenance. But eventually that's what makes a great Indian nation tall. While the historic narrative of architecture is well known, it's documented and celebrated, I think the country's approach to accessible design has been relatively more recent. It's only past few decades wherein accessibility and inclusivity has started receiving the attention that they deserve in the architectural discourse and practice in India. But despite legal mandates and growing awareness, the journey towards fully accessible and inclusive architecture in India is still ongoing, presenting both challenges and opportunities for architects, urban planners, and policymakers. I think the significance of architecture expands beyond aesthetic appeal, extending into the realms of social inclusion, accessibility, and sustainability. It's not merely about constructing buildings. I think it's about building societies. And if you look at it, I mean, a similar perspective when it comes to design, believe me, it also leaves indelible impression on our minds as manufacturers, because we are your enabling partners in this journey. We also understand what it means to bring inclusivity. We talk about, I mean, I'm sure this illustrious group of designers very well know our Queen series, one of the most celebrated timeless design. But again, we are talking today about models which are more inclusive in nature, which can help people who are old age, people who are, I mean, again, issues pertaining to differently able people. So be it designing faucets, be it designing ceramics, I think it's all about an appreciation there that how we are also able to partner in this initiative. But I think largely it's about the principal understanding of design that is a universal design. And when we talk about a universal design, we talk more from the perspective of an equitable use, a flexibility in use, simplicity and intuitive use. I would call very, very perceptible information the way information gets disseminated. Tolerance of error. Yes, I think tolerance of error also needs to be high. We need to talk about low physical effort, much better ergonomics, and last but not the least, a very, very understanding both the size and space for approach and use. But I think before I close, I would like to talk about architectural principles, how they relate to making a person move up a stage, how entering into a monument can reduce barriers, how we are able to ensure that even for somebody who is blind, he is able to have a very accessible usage to the building and is able to identify and engage. Thank you so much for all being there. We are looking forward to a great session with some great friends and a lot of brilliant designers who have flown from different parts of India. And thank you always for making these knowledge sessions more stronger and viable, because together we exist as a community and we really look up to Vadodara, and not only for this session, but for also many sessions to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohit Hajela, for that heartwarming address. And as we further dwell in the evening, we are delighted to introduce to you all our keynote speaker of this edition, an industry leader from the architecture and design industry of Mumbai, humble enough to join us today and share with us his vision and experience in the field. A dynamic force in the world of architecture, he is known for his innovative approach and passionate dedication. With a background that merges scientific acumen with artistic creativity, his journey into architecture was serendipitous yet destined. Initially aspiring to become a chemical engineer, he found his path redirected by a twist of fate and a timely conversation. With formal education that began at Rachna Sansad Academy of Architecture in Mumbai, he further advanced to Georgia Tech College of Architecture in Atlanta, where he specialized in the design of digital manufacturing. In 2012, he co-founded Muse Lab with his longtime friend and collaborator, Jasim Pirani. His journey reflects a deep passion, unwavering dedication, and a constant drive for excellence, setting him apart in the world of architecture. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a huge round of applause in welcoming our keynote for this edition, architect Josefa Rangwala, director and co-founder of MuseLab. Can we please have you on stage?
Hello, everyone. A very good evening. Thank you to ITP Media, Architects and Interiors, Vibhor, and also Ruchika, and also to the entire design fraternity over here for giving me this platform in Vadodara. I'm actually truly blessed to be standing here. So for my 25 minutes today, I will be shedding light on the non-conformist principles of MuseLab, which I co-founded with my best friend Jason Pirani in 2012. Now, I typically like to improvise my presentations. I don't like to read, but given the paucity of time, and I've been told I have only 25 minutes, so I've packed a lot on this presentation, so I'm going to take cues from these notes. So just a warning, it is going to be a visual roller coaster, at the end of which I will be left breathless, but I'm really hoping that you guys will be left inspired. Design is a very powerful tool that has the ability to empower and destroy. It is incomplete without diverse voices and also without diverse choices. So today I will be talking about diversity in design using case studies from MuseLab's practice, which not only reflect monumentality and inclusivity, but might also include tons of monumental mistakes and jokes that you must laugh at. The challenge that I have in front of me is that I will be presenting one project in 60 seconds and therefore 21 projects in 21 minutes, almost like a MuseLab version of Pecha Kucha. So here we go. Project 1. This luxury holiday home in Alibag resembles a Los Angeles glass house. Here we designed the architecture, interiors and landscape for our incredible client who also happens to be a bachelor. The entire home, including the jewel box-like bathrooms, is ceremoniously unveiled to the deck where he hosts the parties. The cuboidal two-storied home is also connected by this jade green form which houses a staircase. Now, of course, it's also monumental in maintenance, and we are considering an entire plot adjacent to this filled with solar panels in some way to foot the air conditioning bills. Muse Tribe, the second project. So we were we kind of designed this collection of toys during the 2020 lockdown, where the idea was to empower the Channapatna artisans. These toys are called the Muse Tribe, and each shape-shifting toy is gender neutral, and the idea was to promote inclusivity, acceptance, and tolerance in kids at a very young age. The sketch shows some of our process images when we were remote working with the artisans, and this slide shows a grid of how each toy has been very, very painstakingly named. Since everyone also asked us where the tribe came from, we continued the saga, and in 2022, we designed the Museverse, which comprised of these 4 guardians, each with their own superpowers. We also collaborated with miniature artists to create these beautiful cloches that represent the realms of these characters. Project 3. As architects, we owe a lot to the city we inhabit and call home, which is why we at MuseLab take keen interest in passion projects to better our city. And one such project is the Mahim Junction, which is a busy intersection of major roads adjacent to public amenities like a church and a school. So it sees constant and contentious interaction between vehicles and pedestrians. It is also the starting point of Mahim Causeway, which is one of the primary routes connecting the island city to the mainland. Now, the study did not limit itself to reintroducing a roundabout or defining lane divisions and having controlled vehicular movement, but it also stressed upon interconnecting plazas, controlling lengths of the crossings, geometry corrections, and having continuous footpaths. Now, this was done in the light of the success of redesign proposals for chaotic junctions led by organizations such as WRI and NACTO. I mean, of course, the project is very, very monumental in vision and very inclusive, at least to me. The next project, number 4, is where, my visit to Ajanta in 1997 became the starting point of a very interesting collaboration with Fazo projects from Mirzapur. We abstracted the plan of the Ajanta caves, meticulously identifying structure and salient features. This was then mirrored to establish intersecting relationships. And in the process, block geometry and forms were created. The resultant rug is a stunning concoction of elements, details, and color blocking, and of course, history. What was even more exciting is that we eventually, I'm sorry. happens when I get confused with a clicker. But what is even more exciting is that we extended our collaboration with our dear friend and fine art photographer Sameer Tavre, who conceptualized a shoot in a quarry outside of Bombay. And he got a yoga instructor to actually help him with this whole thing. So the rugs were suspended from the quarry, almost, creating these surreal sort of visual landscapes. So the whole idea was that everything came full circle, from design being inspired by rock cut temples to the product being shot or documented in a quarry, which is also rock cut. Project number 5. So when our clients asked us to build a pool for their ground up home in Coimbatore with Spanish influences, it started off as a plunge pool that gradually started growing on paper. And when we saw how the pool deck extended into, how the pool extended into the deck and into the bar lounge, we just got very greedy and we designed this massive 77-foot bolt. So they loved the idea, and then we decided to dress the entire pool deck with these customized mosaic tiles in white, gray, cerulean, and also charcoal. Build it now as is so that I can swim and he can have a drink. Now that's what she said, our client, and that's what we did. We built it exactly the way we presented, and the pool is essentially punctuated with a lot of arches that connects to the courtyard and also to the garden on the outside. And, the pool is also part covered and part open to sky. Of course, the home is more than just the pool. It is about vaults and courtyards and cathedral ceilings. Very, very monumental in terms of the scale. Project number 6. Now, in 2015, we had a downtime at a studio, but we converted the no project phase to start MuseMart, which is a product design vertical. These birch-ply coasters that you see was the very first product, and it took us a year to ideate and prototype. And the thought was to ensure zero wastage. So from a 5-foot by 5-foot birch-ply sheet of 4 mm, we essentially created this entire set, where each set comprises of 4 of these coasters, and what you see as the receptacle was from the leftovers of the coaster itself. The lid that you see is covering the receptacle, and that actually has the laser cutting engraving of the 4 designs within this, and eventually becomes a 5th coaster as well. Come 2004, where we are now blessed with enough work, but we know that Kira of designing does not cease to exist. So here we decided to extend a collection and create a series of coasters with using Indian stones. And yes, you can definitely mistake them for cookies. In fact, they're now being packaged for larger orders with cookies. So we also do corporate gifting. This is for all our vendor friends over here. Project number 7. So one of our most underrated but favorite architectural projects is this undocumented multi-generational home in Patra, which is a very small town 40 kilometers east of Patiala. And it's part of a row housing community and it had a very sad excuse for a park. Now, with only a 9-meter frontage, we decided to create a series of cuboidal volumes terracing upwards over 3 floors. So the idea was to pay homage to the chat, to create opportunities for kids to play hide and seek, for them to dry grains, and for even to sleep under the stars. However, each volume also housed a vault within there. So seen here in the section, so every form actually had a vault inside, which is why we called it Waltz and Matilda. Cue music, like Waltz and Matilda. If you get it, you get it. So it was a fun project because, we actually had 4 ठेकेदार्स who magically ran away from the project because they could not execute these complex parabolic bolts. Eventually, my client, he also had this sort of, Viola moment. He got a ठेकेदार who has built gurudwaras and who could make bolts. And that's how then, this project just magically sprung. Unfortunately, we couldn't document it, but it happens to be one of our favorite projects. Project number 8. This is MuseMart's reading light, which is a play on the word. So the light looks like an open book. You read a book, R-E-A-D, but at the same time, it is built from MS frames, and it has like a rattan sort of a leaf. So that's where, it's R-E-E-D, read, just like a read. Hence, we're calling it the reading light. So this light is actually available in the form of a floor lamp, suspended light, a wall sconce, and also an elongated dining lamp. But our fascination for light also encouraged us to participate in the Amsterdam Light Festival, where we proposed the algal microforest, which is an urban furniture concept that resembles trees. Now, as you all know, that our cities grow thanks to aimless deforestation, and pollution is on its rise. But did you also know that algae and moss filter out 14 billion tons of carbon dioxide per year, and that algae is 400 times more efficient than trees covering the same footprint? So what you see here is an MS fabricated tree with a foliage lined with solar panels on modular components that holds test tubes of spirulina. You see that image right there on the extreme left. So spirulina is an algae, but it is also a superfood. So the whole idea was that during the day, the heat activates the algae in the tubes and they allow for them to purify the air. But at dusk, the solar charged embedded lights create a very, very surreal glow through the tubes to create a safe, well-lit street furniture. And last, of course, the spirulina can be harvested, nom nom. And, so of course, the project is very, very monumental in vision. Um, yeah, project number 9. Now, this is the first home in Ahmedabad where it was a collaboration with Hiren Parel, who was the architect of the project, and we were interior designers. The pool is a very integral part of the central court. It is designed like a koi pond, what you can see on the right side. It is very intricate in design, required tons of man hours to get the pixels in order, and also needed us to make multiple visits to the ophthalmologist. I mean, as you can see, I have like one circle and one square for eyeglasses. However, what is intriguing is the genesis of this idea. During one of our visits, we discovered a client's elder daughter's passion for art, and she shared the koi pond art as being one of her favorites. That's the image on the left. Instantly, we decided this was like a no-brainer. We took her art, we pixelated it, and then worked with a 3D visualizer to create this visual. And eventually, we worked with Lemina, the tile guys, and Morbi to create the artwork. And of course, the result is by far one of our most cherished memories of the project. And what is more surreal is having our peacock friends tiptoeing towards the pool in the morning to check the impeccable artwork. Project number 10 is another pandemic project, which was the Market on Wheels, which led us to win a global design competition during COVID. The reformed cart is actually inspired from the humble hand cart, and it is compact, modular, mobile system that transforms into a standalone kiosk. Now, the idea was to create a resilient delivery system whilst protecting the vendor's health, and also becomes a unique modular or decentralized market where carts can be plugged into open spaces within the tenets of physical distancing. Now, this also inspired us to work on another passion project called the Saja Samudayak Sauchalay, or a shared community toilet, which caters to 80 families within an informal settlement in Mumbai, Dharavi. Each toilet consists of 3 zones, a private, semi-private, and public zone. Heavily stigmatized traditional waste management is replaced by a circular economy system that uses waste to create value-adding products such as biochar, organic fertilizers, and providing information on the health of community. So the larger goal was to resolve the challenges related to open defecation, gender inclusivity, reduction in the number of preventable diarrheal deaths, especially amongst children, treatment and reduction in discharge of untreated wastewater into water bodies, and also to engage local communities to a participatory maintenance problem, which is what our public toilets lack. This is just another image of the public toilet. Project number 11 is a school that we've designed. Now, designing a school is special, but when you design a school in Bombay, it is literally like, you're baking a cake on a roller coaster. It's like, it's very, 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 very bumpy, but it's also exciting because you get cake at the end. However, it also implies going vertical and deriving the building footprint post setbacks. So such is the case of our now completed IB school at Chembur, which is for RBK. Now, well, the yet to be completed facade is basically, it's a very brutalist facade, and it's got these steel eyelets. But what we've done is that the interiors is absolutely the opposite. There are patterned tiles on the floors and bursts of colors on every conceivable surface, along with shapes, portals, and activated corridors that ensure the kids look forward to and enjoy being in school. Now, this leads to another equally special project which we are working on, which is a rural school in Kathiwara, 3 hours from Vadodara. And it's the first of its school in the region, and it aims to establish itself as an educational landmark. Now, the plan is almost like a Viking war horn, and it's extruded over 2 floors to create a very large curved surface that presents an opportunity for interesting skins both on the south face and also on the north face. Of course, the bird's eye view right here reveals barrel wall roofscape, which crowns the building. It's very monumental in scale, and of course, it's inclusive, according to me. Project number 12. Now, Jassim and I, we graduated as architects, but we call ourselves designers. However, historically speaking, every architect wants to design a chair. And this was our way of doing, addressing that. So this chair is the Eclipse chair, which is one of the many chairs that we have designed. Of course, it's a comfy reading chair, and the images show how it has evolved from having a beefy armrest and, just a back support or a low back support to then extending this over here. And eventually, we are now also working on an iteration where we're going to make it a lot more comfortable for longer conversations or, longer sort of book reading sessions. The next slide actually, and I don't know what's wrong with this slide, I'm sorry. going to actually move because there were actually 3 chairs over here, but we'll move to the next project. Now, this particular project is actually a home in Kolhapur which we designed, and of course, while homes have to be very cohesive and aesthetic, and why not? Over here, each member of the family, I mean, they all come from humble beginnings, but they're like peas. They're different peas, but they belong to the same pod. So our project over here, it's the largest 20,000 square feet home for a family of 4, and we're calling it the House of Curiosities. Here, the father and the son, they spend a lot of time outside the home, which leaves the matriarch of the family all by herself. And sometimes, the flip side of large homes is that you also get to experience loneliness, which is why we consciously took a very, very maximalist approach to the project, where a storeroom became an escape room. The living room actually has a waterfall rug and a 30-foot ceramic totem. The bridges, which are across 2 levels, have this very, very beautiful and robust glass installation with rotating curved glass modules. The roof terrace over here is actually doused in shades of terracotta. And, the doors over here have these very, very beautiful hand-carved molding details. And most importantly, the staircase that you see over here is actually clad in panels of pressed flowers to encourage the residents to not only get their steps, but also to sort of relive their cherished experiences of walking in meadows. Coming from Bombay, this home was nothing short of monumental for us. Project number 14. Now, the very pivotal moment in our design careers, we seized the chance to make a very meaningful impact with the Channapatna installation at Raw Collaborative in 2020. Now, when we were asked about our approach to engaging with the Mill Owners Association by the founders of Raw Collaborative, we decided to choose the staircase where we wanted to create this information, and it's only because the staircase is always placed second fiddle to the ramp for those who have been to the Mill Owners Association. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to actually highlight the void of the staircase, and hence our entire installation was designed around it. Now, our aim for this particular installation was multifold. The first was to, of course, uplift the Channapatna artisans who were affected by the pandemic, because this was done in 2020. It was to create a community of gender-neutral, modular, shape-shifting toys, what I showed in my second slide. It was also to assemble a very, very contextual installation that exaggerated the void of the staircase of Kapuzia's Mill Owners Association. And it was to ensure that the installation also has an afterlife. We all know that, once installations are done for exhibitions, they actually go to the landfill. But in this case, all the toys were disassembled, and we ended up working with our most favorite charity, Teach for India, and basically they were distributed to a lot of schools to underprivileged children within Ahmedabad. So just the idea was to ensure that, the installation also has an afterlife. And for us, this particular project also happens to be one of our most favorite projects because it actually transcends design. Project number 15, now in this day and age of obsessing over Portuguese architecture for holiday homes in Goa, for those who do projects in Goa, we created our own playful version of this typology with sloping roofs and arches aplenty, and in the process, we substituted repetition with rhythm. The resultant ground plus 2-storied home that you see over here is our version of a Nouveau Portuguesa aesthetic. A design language that does not ape the past but uses its principle to create something which is current, relevant, but not necessarily timeless. Not to say that we have not designed a hardcore Portuguese villa. I mean, it's cute and it has proportions of, like a beautiful Portuguese home. It also looks like a cake, but it is monumental, I don't know, as a fail, maybe. Project number 16. Now, how do you convert a window shopper into a buyer? So we deduced that a store's profitability hinges equal parts on the quality of the space and quality of the product. So this 1,000 square feet jewelry store in Ahmedabad High Street was designed in 2023 as an offshoot of a 75-year-old traditional shop and showroom family jewelry business. Now, the idea was to heighten the retail experience by creating a central discovery island that you see right here, which allows, which has indents in the island, and essentially it allows for conversations. Of course, you can walk around it, you can see all the products, but at the same time, there is also like opportunities for buying and selling at the indents. Now, this suspended linear light that you see, these are images of the actual build project. So the suspended linear light that you see is almost like a chandelier, which is fixed and is similar to the island in form. The jewelry itself displayed on sculptural ring bearers right here, which are placed within these cloches. They're like biodomes, so you're creating these mini worlds over here. And the design was to So the design of the store not only heroes the product, but at the same time it also celebrates the buyer and heightens their retail experience. Uh, the next slide is actually images from my mom's boutique, which we designed in 2014, where we worked with her karigars to create, and essentially it was about engaging them to create these cross-stitch panels on perforated CNC milled bison board sheets. Um, Now this image shows three adjoining warehouses in a narrow street where, in central Bombay, and surprisingly this one in the center is what we have designed. The image on the right over here is actually our context, and this is actually our intervention right here. Now why I'm showing this project obviously is because, so it is the headquarters of Aqua Green Water Solutions, and our collective vision with the client was to build something that almost feels like it existed and it's part of this 100, I think it is like an 85-year-old industrial gala in Lakra Bazaar, Bombay. We also, of course, we demolished the entire structure, but we reused 75% of what we could to, for all the non-structural elements within the new intervention. And, for this project, we also worked with a green building consultant, and we did several calculations only to realize that solar panels and passive cooling were not the most ideal solution, and it was okay to rely on electricity and HVAC system to moderate the air temperature, where of course the weather is extremely hot and humid in Bombay. The sectional perspective shows the spatial segregation of this ground plus 2 structure, which is only 11 feet in width, but it's actually 75 feet in depth. The next project aims to destigmatize social housing by connecting with the unique landscape of Dehradun's 40-acre site. Now, by reimagining traditional housing blocks, the design enhances open spaces and maximizes daylight and ventilation. It accommodates three typologies of apartments, the EWS, LIG, and LMIG, in a construction ratio 1:2:4. Central to the plan are courtyards and plazas that foster connections and views. Now, the housing units are designed non-modularly, creating a varied architectural expression with dynamic heights. Clusters of residences overlook internal courtyards, as you can see over there in that image, and they're surrounded by greenery. Subterranean parking optimizes surface space for housing, well-planned roads, and recreational areas. Now, each building here features a dual facade with staggering height. Now, this is monumental in vision for us because we did not want to build another cookie-cutter, low-cost housing solution. Project number 19. So here now we will dwell onto two very diverse interior projects in Bombay. The first one that we call a Salt House. It blends modern and Indian styles and showcases a lot of rich details. The space is designed for two generations, combines vibrant colors, patterns, art without any restraint. Of course, it has a lot of playful elements which shine in the living dining area. Case in point, these lamps. I mean, why should lamps always be on the table? They can be like suspended inversely or on the side. But also, you see that Pintu Sikdar brass, the brass jacket over there, which kind of resembles a light chandelier right on top. So these are a lot of bespoke art and objects that were a part of this project. But the second project that I want to show you is called Naked, which is a 1,000-square-foot apartment home that redefines a bachelor pad. It's a seamless space without unnecessary walls, and it was inspired by Philip Johnson's Glass House, featuring minimal furniture and creating a sculpture gallery effect with no colors and patterns. So the project essentially focuses on the beauty of nothingness, and it emphasizes on what one needs versus what one wants. So by decluttering the design, we highlighted the simplicity and elegance of the space, prioritizing functionality while maintaining the artistic essence. Project number 20, two more to go. The Kathiwara family in Kathiwara obviously has a very rich history of 500 years and is deeply rooted in MP's heritage. So the iconic Raj Mahal, which is this tiny little blob that you see right here, was once a hunting lodge and the royal residence. And the palace has heirlooms and art deco furniture. So the family dedicated this 120-acre master plan to preserving the architecture and culture of the region, and also envisions the plan to include boutique stays, a royal conservatory, an amphitheater, and various recreational activities, which keep ensuring that each intervention benefits the people of the town and the surrounding regions. Now, each element is crafted to enhance the experience, inviting the diverse patrons to explore the state's rich legacy. Now, given the history of the site, we presented the master plan as a watercolor render and created these cute little stamps, basically as axonometric illustrations to highlight the various design elements. The last project, project number 21, this is actually the design brief from Zarak Steels, our clients, tasked us, our studio, to create a micro architecture that integrates seamlessly into the existing 50,000 square feet manufacturing shed for tin-free plates. Now, the L-shaped two-storied office block is positioned in one corner and focuses on views inwards into the factory. So the ground floor essentially includes spaces like accounts room, managers' cabins, etc., while the first floor houses the director's cabin and the conference room, keeping users visually connected to the factory activities. We utilize quick build beer shell technology over here, where the construction, the idea was to save on the construction time and to improve on thermal and sound insulation. The facade also features rhythmic design with gray textured panels. Inside the entire architecture, of course, this is one of the corner views, but within the building, there's also this very beautiful sort of teal staircase and a minimalist conference room which enhances the aesthetics, while playful teal accents and geometric art unify the space. Of course, what you see now is actually in 2022, where we celebrated 10 years of NewsLab and we gifted ourselves a new office, and we fondly call it Unicorns Exist. It's a tribute to our vibrant community of dreamers and artists. Our journey began in 2012 out of this very tiny 250 square feet office, also in Prabhadevi. And of course, then we sort of upgraded 2 years back to a slightly larger space. So our curiosity fuels our belief in the impossible, reminding us that unicorns exist for those who dare to look closely. Last, whilst this makes us a jack of all trades and a master of none, we also believe that this is way more fun, and it's better than being a master of one. It allows us to tread between designs that are monumental in both scale and in vision, and designs that are inclusive and cater to diverse needs, abilities, accessibility, and usability for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I request you to please come back on stage, Zefa. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for giving us insights about so many projects, and to felicitate our very talented keynote, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Mohit Hajela, Group Head Business Development from Jaguar Group. Along with him, Mr. Bibhor Srivastav, Managing Director Events from ITP Media Group. Architects and Interiors India's design debate aims at presenting the most trusted and reputed brands in the field of architecture and interior design. And having said that, I present to you all a brand that is an epitome of style and functionality with their exclusive collection in the segment of bath and light. Can we please have the AV? Thank you to the team of Jaguar for a very interesting AV. I would now like to invite Mr. Pawnesh Bhandari, Senior General Manager, Marketing from Jaguar India, to kindly come on stage and present further.
Good evening. I think Mr. Mohit has already spoken about what Jaguar stands for, and I believe everybody knows about Jaguar and the products. Uh, we are actually into, as you all know, we are into complete bathroom solutions. And if you look for the last 10 to 15 years, I think shower enclosures has become a part and parcel of bathrooms. From a luxury, now it has become a necessity as more and more people become aware of what a dry and a wet bathroom means. We started in 2009, and we started with this thought of starting shower enclosure as a complete product. The complete product means that the glass and the hardware and everything comes from one single source, and it is pitched and marketed as all other standard products are sold in the market. Uh, Before that, it was a very niche market, and most of the time it was some hardware company which was selling it as a hardware, and some glass guy who was arranging glass and then assembling at the site. And we started with this thought of design to installation to maintenance. Design means that we worked out models, and you can call it as products for each and every shower type of shower area. So whatever the shower area type in the bathroom is, we have a standard product for that. So we started with, because this was more of a, the product is not complete unless the installation is done. So we created a large team in every part of the country who can go to the bathroom, check the sizes, and then the product is made, and then the part of that team goes back and then install the product at customer site. And then as all Jaguar products, we extended warranty on this product also, like it's a 5-year warranty. So uh, in one way, we own this product for the next 5 years. So whatever happens to that product, the warranty stands for as it's for other Jaguar products. So this is how we started with this design to installation to maintenance. And over a period of time, we expanded, the market expanded, and we put up our own toughening unit. Many of you would have visited our factory, and we would have seen that thing. And another unique feature of this product is that we have this anti-lime scale treatment done in the factory. This is a default feature. Every Jaguar shower enclosure comes with this anti-lime scale coating, and we are the only company which gives automatic, the CNC machine coating. Normally you see that the people who just spray the coating on the glass, and then they claim it as that it has anti-lime scale coating, but the coating is not proper. And the benefit of this coating is that the water trickles down faster and it doesn't leave marks. And the idea is that after the anti-lime scale coating, you don't need to clean the glass every day. Once in 10 days or once in a fortnight is enough to keep the glass clean and away from stains and other things. And as I explained, we have model for each and every shower area. Uh, Uh, the glass options, we have 8 mm and 10 mm. And as you know, each and every bathroom, most of the time is different, the shower areas are different. So based on that, we have both the standard options and customized options also. And the standard options are uh, which can be delivered, which are generally stocked by our distributors and dealers, and it can be delivered the next day and can be installed within 2-3 days, and the site can be completed. And in customized option, again, we have to take the sizes, and the glass is cut and tempered, and then the product is delivered. And normally, most of the time, now the trend is that, I mean, at the last stage, people are asking for shower enclosures, and then the standard options are gaining momentum. Uh, as far as customized is there, we have all the options with 8 mm glass, 10 mm glass, with 8 feet width or 9 feet width, and up to ceiling height also, because that's the latest trend, because people want shower enclosures up to the ceiling height. So we have those options also. And in the same trend, we have the steam options also. Whenever you are using, putting up a steam generator in the shower area, so that needs to be enclosed. And so we have our various options. The glass can be taken up to the ceiling height, or a ceiling can be put on the shower enclosure, so that you can have those steam enclosed in that, and you can enjoy that steam within your own space, within your with the comfort of your own home. Uh, this is what we have done. These are our standard models. We have 5 different standard models. These are some of the bath screens, which are framed also from all the sides, and freestanding, and other models. So we have all the color ranges. We have almost 10 color ranges in our faucets. So each and every color has a matching hardware. So if you are using a color faucet, so you can have a similar color for shower enclosures also, so that you can have a coordinated design within the bathroom. So these are our frameless range. This is a high-end collection from us, which we call at Ritz collection. The difference is that it is in square shape. The hinges are at the top and bottom of the glass, and the stabilizer rod and the towel rod are 25 mm thick, which gives a very rich look to the enclosure. This is again a square series, where we have that different type of hinges, and the towel rod, the stabilizer bar on the top of the enclosure is in square shape. And same in this series also, we have different colors matching with our faucet colors. So this was a brief about shower enclosures from Jaguar. And I would like to take this opportunity to talk about what we now need for shower enclosures. As I said, the category is getting noticed. More and more people are now asking for shower enclosures. I think anybody today, if he's going for a renovation, or he's constructing a new house, is going for a shower enclosure. And most of the builders, most of the developers are also in particular category, maybe depending upon the city, like Bombay or Delhi, if it is more than 2 crore or something, or maybe 10,000 rupees per square feet, they are providing shower enclosures by default. So when a category is developing like that, I think we need standardization in that category. So as a design fraternity sitting here, so my request and suggestion to all of you would be that the time has come that the shower area has to be a standard shower area, because whenever the volumes are there, the product has to be a standard product, because it is a win-win situation for everybody. It's a winning situation for a manufacturer. He can, I mean, they can produce in mass, they can produce in volumes, and bring the cost down. and for the customer also, because whenever it is a standard item, it can be available off the shelf. We, as I have shown, that we have some standard products, but we are working on more and more standard products for this category. So my humble request to all of you is that whenever you are designing the bathrooms, think of designing shower enclosure or the shower area as a standard shower area. So that will help this category to grow further. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Team Jaguar, for a very interesting presentation. And moving forward, Design Debate, being a knowledge sharing platform, brings together the industry experts to involve in a panel discussion and gives them an opportunity to share their opinions and ideologies. And only an expert with profound knowledge and experience can precisely curate these panel discussions with the most suitable speakers. We are fortunate to have one such personality amongst us tonight who has contributed immensely to curate this edition of Design Debate and will also be conducting the upcoming panel discussions. A graduate from MS University, Baroda, he co-founded Dalvi Associates with Mrs. Swapnil Dalvi in 1997. Their works has been featured for 4 consecutive years in the list of Hot 100 Designers of the Country by a known publication house. He remains invited to many panel discussions through the country, including a few covered on national television, on topics related to the future of design in India. He has written papers on scope of Indian architects in the Middle East for WTO, World Trade Organization, UNO, a decade ago. He is past chairman of IID Vadodara and a member of IID National Executive Committee. Though being a passionate designer by profession, he also cherishes a glorious past as a national level cricketer. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a huge round of applause in welcoming our curator for this edition, Architect Rahul Dalvi, Principal Architect from Dalvi Associates. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Well, first of all, thanks to Mohit, Vibhor, and Ruchika for giving me the privilege to be a part of this event in Baroda. I mean, we've been there in Ahmedabad, but seeing Design Debate getting conducted in Baroda is really a great thing. Thanks for that. Thanks for coming here. To begin with, fantastic presentation, Josefa. Wonderful. I mean, the gamut that you played with your, right from your urban scale to the artworks which you did, phenomenal. I'm sure even 51 minutes would have been less with 51 projects. So great work to begin with. The topic is pretty dicey is what I feel. Monumental versus inclusive. It's a debate. I think the debate can be between versus or with. I think in the course of time only can we know after the panel discussion where we arrive to, and probably we may not arrive to as well. It's a pleasure to see one of the absolute doyens of our country in architecture, Chandrasekhar Kanitkar, be there on the panel. I think it's my personal privilege to be sitting on the platform with him, and I look forward to fantastic answers from a person with a lot of wisdom. I think the real doyen is with us today. Let me begin with the topic. And to begin with, what is monumental? Monumental is something that is great in extent, importance, and size. So these 3 things is something that the meaning is there in terms of the dictionary meaning. So it could be the power or being powerful, which years ago, all the structures used to be monumental. That was to show that how much of power we have, whether you follow us or we make you follow us. That same thing went into boldness or went into becoming humongous. So monumentality and humongous nature go, hand in hand in reality, and something that is larger than life. All these examples are only trying to tell you that, in order to be recognized, in order to identify yourself with, you need to do something which is different, and that becomes monumental. So it could be the scale, it could be a different approach, it could be going against the tide. So do monuments influence economy? This is a little different take. Do monuments influence economy, or does economy need a monument to show that we are a stronger one? So when we say that, you can easily know that, the countries are identified by their monuments, be it the Sydney Opera, which exemplifies what is Australia, or it is our Taj Mahal. Since ages, India is known by that. Or now the Statue of Unity, the tallest one in the world. So what are we trying to say? That we are trying to say that we have arrived. We were there and we have arrived again. Or Calatrava's Leeds Station. We've been there, right, Dipen? And we have been there and we have seen how minuscule the human scale feels when you're in a space like that. And what it is, it's a railway station. So when you look at a railway station like that, you come to feel that this is a monument, and you look at the entire village of Leeds, everything is horizontal, nothing is vertical, and suddenly you have a Calatrava coming out there. What does it signify? It only says that, guys, come and look at us. So when you say that, how does a monument influence the economy? Either it is boasting of the power that it wants to show, or it is giving you something by which you come there and indirectly enhance the economy. Same what we can talk about Dubai for that matter, or Azerbaijan. All these places have exemplified the way the monuments have been created, not in the ancient past, but even today, whereby the economy keeps on churning. Dubai is one of the best examples. You go every time and you see one or the other structures, be it a building or be it a park, all are monuments. So does Petronas signify itself with Malaysia, or the Burj Khalifa with Dubai? And no wonder, they actually become stamps. So the country boasts of itself on the stamp. I mean, stamp is now probably a outdated thing, but it does mean that these structures are the ones with which we identify a country. What is inclusive architecture? The take of inclusive architecture is something that is accessible to all, something that is user-centric. Why this station? It's not about showing the building, or it's not about showing the ceiling. It's about saying that it could be a monument, but it's not seen. It doesn't have a cover because the earth is covering it, but it is absolutely user-centric. It is human in scale, nothing boisterous about it. It is affordable, hence accessible, and hence it is green. What do we say means it is green? Green is something wherein you don't splurge. You control, you make it reasonable, and hence it is made for the masses. More people can afford. That's what is green in this context. So can inclusive architecture be monumental? I'm not here to answer these questions, but just a feedback about the church. If you look at a church, it is always overwhelming. When we talk about churches of the olden times, which is like Wiersum or for that matter, the Paris one or Notre Dame, everything is always tall. When the human scale is supposed to be small, so that your feeling about God is, He's always larger and we are always small. This remained intact till Tadao came and said this was a water church, wherein you went inside. And the inside opened from the back, letting the outdoors come to the inside, or the inside getting projected to the outdoors. Is this a monument? It is. It is. But it is not larger than the human scale. It is in the human scale. But what Tadao did, here he changed the way a church is seen. Because he went across the tide, he created a monument. So does a Bilbao, which earlier, so many examples where human to some extent, like what FLW did, Bilbao is a totally antithesis to that. With titanium plates, don't call it green, but you come and look at me and the sales have crossed, I mean, times and times only because it became a monument. So is a monument done by Hussein Doshi in the form of Hussein Doshi Gufa. Is it a monument? It is very humble, it is very small. Your human scale is absolutely felt because you enter through a 7 feet of gate and you respect that scale. But yes, it's a monument. Again, it's a monument. And so is the respect shown by IMPA for the Louvre Museum, which already had its own grandeur. He just inserted a pyramid. Is this a monument? Absolutely, 100% it's a monument, but it is inclusive because the human scale is there, the accessibility is there, and you always feel that you are in a human-centric space. So when we say this is Villa Savoy, done by Corbusier, which we again went and saw. It's a simple house, but path-breaking one. When they were all colonial houses around with embellishments and moldings and stuff like that, suddenly came an architect who said, this is a simple way of modern living. Because he went against the tide, it became a monument. You have a bus stop called Villa Savoy, you have merchandising called Villa Savoy, you have a rail station which is called Villa Savoy. People from Japan come there, whom we met, and so many other nationalities come there. Is that a monument? It is a monument according to me. So monumentality, wherein we talk about this grandeur and the largeness, probably we have to question whether that is the only monument or is the change in a thought process which goes against the tide also a means to create one. So did FLW, respected nature. We all know about falling waters. I mean, it's like a Bible for all the architects who are here. So nothing in terms of the scale. The scales are just 7 feet when you enter in. You have rocks everywhere, but it's a monument for sure. Or Moshe Safdie's low-cost housing thesis project, which became a reality, also a monument now. So is monumentality becoming more inclusive than earlier times? Because a lot of the later examples which I have shown are talking about bringing it closer to human level. But then you also have Zaha and you also have Kalatravas who change the context totally. So if monumental architecture is exclusive, accessible architecture is inclusive. It could be a thought. While inclusive architecture affects its users, monumental architecture affects all. I hope I am able to reach you because of the fact that inclusive architecture is meant for the users, more accessible, people go in, it's reasonable, I can buy it. But monumental architecture will affect everyone, the economy as well. So I just leave you with that thought. Like, let's have more clarity about this with the doyens and the young gen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, we definitely look forward to what further we discuss with the doyens and the next gen. But before we proceed further, I'd like to invite Mr. Vibhakar Jha, Head Strategic Projects from Shuko India, and along with him Mr. Indrajit Sauji, Group Publishing Director from ITP Media Group, to kindly come on stage and felicitate our curator of this edition. Architects and Interiors India's design debate aims at acknowledging brands that offers best and reliable services. And we are humbled to introduce an industry leader that brings over 70 years of international experience in offering aluminium windows, doors, and facades. And to do and to explain and present further about this, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Vibhakar Jha, Head Strategic Projects, Shuko India. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Vibhakar, and I head the strategic project for Shuko in India. I also head the retail business for this company in India. Before I begin with my presentation, I think last 45 minutes, 50 minutes been like really full brainstorming, a lot of creativity and ideas. And I really don't know, should I present my presentation or should I speak on the points that are really. So I almost finished 2 pages notes right now, right? I think starting with Rahul, so I think the way you really define the architectural and monumental is something really amazing. Uh, Mohitji, the way you talked about the architectural trends, right? And how as an architect, you can really see the industry as a businessman and as a corporate governance. I think that's really something lessons to be learned in. Also, Huzaifa, I think that 21 minutes and 21 projects, I think all these projects were really astonishing, right? Every project had a different blend to it. And what I really understand is everything is possible if there's imaginations, creativity that can be really put on the board, right? And I think that would be the genesis for my presentations to begin with. And I think what I would really talk in very short span of time, because I think Indrajit is already looking at his watch, is how we are here to help you out. So who are we? What is our DNA? What is Shuko? What is that we can offer you, right? And how we are here to help you in a city of Baroda, or maybe I can see a few of the architects who are working pan-India from Mumbai, Delhi, right? And we have a footprint across all across India. So we can really discuss. I think it's really the crux of the presentation would be how I can bring your creativity, your imaginations, your drawings to the reality and give it a form and shape that is sustainable, because we really talked about the sustainability factors, right? I really like those lines when you said, you know, the algae and the osmosis takes out 14 millions of the CO2, which 36 tons of CO2 that is really produced. So I think that's really becoming important topic, sustainability, right? Maybe this is not a really big topic for us in India at this point of time, but if you look at the Europe energy conservations and the way this is going up, I think this is really going to be very important factor in the future when you're designing and when you're doing the architectural building and the solutions, right? So like I think basically Schuko is a company from Germany. We are headquartered at Bielefeld. We are a 70-year-old company. We are across 85 countries globally with more than 12,000 partners worldwide. In India, we've been present for last, all right, just not moving. Yeah. So this is precisely what I discussed. We would be talking is who we are. Uh, so we've been present here for last 70 years. And I think, in short, if I define Shuko, we are a design and engineering company who would really like to do the complex jobs, simple jobs, innovative jobs, and challenges that can be really put on the board with architects, consultants, and the facade fraternity across India and the globally. In India, we've been present for last 13 years. Mumbai is our headquarter. We have one of the biggest warehouse facility based out of Bangalore. For the first time in globally, out of Europe, we have the innovation hub where we're doing the product development not only to the Indian subcontinent, but we're also catering to the continents like Australia, New Zealand, Brazil, Japan, right, where the performance with respect to the wind, water in there is really stringent. We basically operate into 4 segments. We do all kind of commercial buildings. We do all kind of facades. Some of the best facade jobs that we have done is, if you look at Delhi ATC, that's completely designed by Shuko. The glass panel weights are 800 kgs, inclining towards gravity. Buddha International Circuit F1, that's completely designed by Shuko.
If you happen to be in Mumbai, two very famous building, one BKC, which is one of the most biggest commercial hub that you see in BKC is designed by Shuko. One Platina is designed by Shuko. Uh, we have recently done a lot of good facade jobs across Pune, Bangalore, Delhi, and I can tell you all these are not a simple project. These are all complex projects, right? And I think there's a blend identity of each and every building that we're talking about. Then we can do sliders. So we can really get into different segmentation of sliders. I can give you something which can go like 2.4, 3 meters, 4.5 meters. And we're really now talking about the market, really talking about the Highline Slim sliders, which is like 6.5 meters, 7 meters. So we proudly say, and I think this is for my all architect friends and facade fraternity sitting in this room, you design, we build it. I think that's exactly what we do as a Shuko, right? And we would really like to be challenged by the new solutions that needs to be put on the board. We really like to plug with the architects since inceptions and the conceptions on drawings. Because the reality is, we really want to ensure as a Shuko that the design and engineering, I think I really like that sentence, which one of my speaker talked about. The design is very powerful, that can really has a capacity to build or either destroy it. So I think I would really pick the former one, not the latter one. So I would really like to help you to design the solutions and capacity that is sustainable, monumental, inclusive, and really, eco-friendly and nature-friendly. I think that's what we are talking here right now. All right. And like we talked about is by doing all this, let's create the country and Desh Banate. Let's make Desh Banao. And the question here is, I've been talking about the footprints across India, but what exactly we are doing in Baroda? So recently we have got into the retail business segments in Baroda, and we have really found a very able partner in Baroda in the name of Mr. Nilesh Gupta, is sitting in this room, in the name of Deco Art, who's already into this retail segment and business for the last 15, 20 years. The idea is very simple. We really want the clients and architects to have a touch and feel of the product, understand the performance parameter with respect to the wind, water, and air. And by November end, we're going to have a very exclusive experience center in Baroda where you can come, touch and feel the different kinds of products. So, you can talk about sliding, you can talk about sliding folding, you can talk about minimalistic designs, panoramic systems. All this is available at Baroda, and I can assure you, you don't have to travel all the way to Bombay, Delhi, or Bangalore to get the product feel of these products. This is just a doorstep available. So I think, like Mr. Josefa did, so I would just flip through some of the really nice building which we have done. This is one of the project in D2C in Chandigarh. This was featured in our global calendars. Please ignore the cow at the front that you see. I think that was not the genesis and the idea for choosing it. But it was done by D2C architects. Now, what we really talked about is every building has a different systems, different design intent, different identity. And the best thing is how could Shuko be inclusive and really capture the design intent and make it sustainable that we are trying to create in the future. Yeah, this is again one of the very high-end projects at Ahmedabad, very nearby from here. And you can see the slimline sections, the full panoramic sections, right? And you can see the elevation of the facade of the building, that's been really captured over here. That's one of the famous building called a Mango Tree House at Bhopal, right? The client didn't want to really unplant any of the trees. He loved the nature. So the challenge was how do we keep the intent, aesthetics, elevations, and view intact, and ensure that this really comes out really nice. Yeah, that's again at Goa. This is the same at the Panipat, again by the 23 DC architects. One of the villa over here, Jalandhar. And you can see, like we talked about the Moroccan design, we talked about, the Portuguese design, and if you see that every building has a different kind of requirement, something with a Georgian wall, somebody would like to have a Victorian shape architecture in the building, right? So what we can really tell you in this room is we're able to do that, with a very high performance, because the four thing that really matters to you is performance with respect to wind, water, air,
and you would really want to be sustainable. The second topic that we're really focusing hard when we're talking about the, in the cities that we're sitting right now is the service and how the digital solutions can be further enhanced to make it more faster and accessible to you guys. Because everybody would like to have the information at the tip of their fingers, and that is what we're really trying hard and strive for. Yeah, and these are some of the commercials, the landmark, and I would really define what Rahul has said, monumental projects. So we recently did this Bharat Mandapam, the Dwarka Convention Center, the Central Secretariat that you see, the ITPO Pragati Maidan where this was the G20 summit was held. That's completely designed by Shuko, that curb building that you see. So we are really happy to be there, be the part of the environment and industry, and create the monumental architectures, which has been really put on with a lot of design intents and creativity. Yeah, and you can see these are some of the complex facades. This is at Ahmedabad, IPL. That one that you see is one Hyderabad. It is a very different system with almost 10,000 square feet of carpet area every floor has, and you have straight away 3 kilometers of complete vacant barren land with a lot of lush green and pictures. So the intent was I want to have an aesthetics with really minimal sections. How can we support on this topic? These are some of the big jobs. This is Irios Scion. So we did like Irios Scion, Victory Valley, Gurgaon Hills, again by one of the US-based builder out there. So the point I would really like to bring on the table is please take your time during the evening or after the event to walk into our booth, understand the systems. We are always happy to help you. We are here to not get into the product, but would really like to be a consultant for you and your business. And we have a plenty of products with the right design and solutions, which is typically suited to a certain level of architectural and designs. Please feel free to call us, write us, or with a in-person meeting, so we can help you to create a building which you aspire to create. So that's from my side. Thank you for your precious time. And before I leave this presentation, I would really like to show you short AV, which would typically give a very bird's eye view, a global context, who we are, what we do, and how can we help you. Can I have the AV, please?
Progress. One word bearing many stories. Stories of great ideas, challenging tasks, and moments that define the way we live. So this story begins with you. An idea is born. From pen to paper. Your first line. That's where it starts. Progress means transforming your workflow into the digital world. Making innovative architecture interactive. Complex calculations easy. And modern fabrication more efficient. Progress is understanding what you need today in order to focus on solutions for tomorrow. Experience progress. In the process of building, multidisciplinary planning is key. Our modular facade solutions minimize risks and provide maximum flexibility on site. Keeping other people people safe means thinking of events that cannot always be foreseen. We are constantly improving durability and dependability to create the safest place against potential fire hazards or unexpected impact. In the future, buildings will not only be about what people can see, but also about what they can hear or not hear. Reducing noise provides more comfort for people inside and a clear head at the same time. Well-connected architecture combines new intelligence and functionality with our products and your ideas. For commercial buildings, as well as private homes. Connecting people with their home makes everyday life easier and creates time for more important things. That's progress. And what about design? Doesn't it speak for itself? In the end, it's not about what we make or the goals we strive for. It's about seeing this world, our world, through the eyes of others. At Schuco, we believe that progress is one of the greatest experiences we share with our partners, enabling you to create spaces that will be more than windows, doors, and facades, to shape our lives and work for decades to come. Experience digitalization, vertical, security, acoustics, smart building, home. Experience progress with us.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time. I wish you all a great evening ahead with a lot of knowledge sharing and idea exchange. I'll see you in person soon and look forward to meet you all. Thank you. Have a great evening tonight. Bye.
Thank you so much for a very insightful presentation. And now we move on to the most awaited part of the evening, our panel discussions. We'd like to begin with the dynamic Doyens panel, the stalwarts of the design industry. I'd like to welcome and introduce to you all our speakers for this particular session. Starting with the first speaker, he is an alumni of Sir J.J. College of Architecture, where he completed his bachelor in architecture in the year 1999, and he's an adventurous traveler, a design enthusiast, an avid trekker, and a fitness health freak. Creativity in all aspects is passion for him. Please welcome on stage our first speaker for the Doyens panel, architect Ashutosh Vad, founder partner of Space Dynamics. Can we please have a huge round of applause? Welcome, sir. Moving on to our next speaker. He is a distinguished gold medalist from MS University, Baroda. Over the course of more than 5 decades, he has been the principal architect and designer of his firm that spans from elegant family homes to high-end high-rise residential towers, standalone gourmet restaurant to luxurious resorts, indulging heritage precincts, palaces, hillsides, and seaside resorts, as well as business hotels in bustling metro cities and emerging urban centers. His renowned hospitality clients are some domestic and international chains, including ITC, Sheraton, Hyatt, amongst others. Please welcome on stage our next speaker for the session, Architect Chandrasekhar Kanatkar, Principal Architect Chandrasekhar Design. Welcome to the show, sir. And our next speaker, a distinguished graduate from MSU Vadodara, she brings over 20 years of national and international expertise to the field of architecture. Having started her career under Brinda Sumaya at SNK and shaped by guidance from architect Rahul Dalvi himself, she founded Miraki Design, a leading architecture and interior design firm in Gurgaon. Known for landmark projects such as the Indus in the Middle East and MI Center in healthcare, her work is defined by her commitment to cognitive design, sustainability, and art-infused design, blending creativity and function to deliver exceptional, thoughtful spaces. Please welcome our very talented next speaker on stage, Architect Chandrika Sahai, Director and Principal Architect, Miraki Design. Welcome to the show, ma'am. Moving on, holding a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from MS University, Vadodara, Gujarat, he strives to maintain a balance between aesthetics and functionality in all its design. His work is featured regularly and has made an appearance in all major national and international design journals and magazines. His practice has won accolades from many eminent affiliations such as ID Honors 2022, Top 10 Houses 2020, and Forbes India Design Awards 2019, amongst the best. Please welcome on stage the next speaker for this panel, Architect Dipen Gadda, Principal Designer, Dipen Gadda and Associates. Welcome to the show, sir. And as we move on introducing our speakers one after the other, here's to another speaker. He graduated with a Bachelor of Architecture degree from MS University, Vadodara, and established Modi Srivastava and Associates in 1994 with his co-founders, Architect Amit Srivastava and Architect Neha Modi. He was the chairman of Institute of Indian Interior Designers, Vadodara, and 03 terms international executive body of IIID as head of IIID website development and digitalization. After he graduated from the MS University of Baroda and during his practice of last 24 years, his prowess to observe and analyze has translated into several award-winning and numerous thoughtfully designed spaces and structures. He believes with time, every individual evolves as a person and as a designer. Please welcome on stage our next speaker, Architect Hitesh Modi, founding partner, Modi Srivastava and Associates. Welcome to the show, sir. And last but not the least, our next speaker, she is the partner founder architect of Dalvi Associates Vadodara and is the backbone of the firm. She has passed her bachelor's in architecture in 1994 from Maharaja Sayaji Rao University. A recent WADE awardee for healthy and safe interiors, she has come a long way while performing the balance between her career, passion and home. She believes in designing spaces that complements the architecture and its concept, and thus seamlessness blends her interiors with the architectural envelope. She enjoys product and furniture design and likes being challenged for designing in constraint. Please welcome our final speaker of this panel, Architect Swapnil Dalvi, co-founder and principal architect of Dalvi Associates. Welcome to the show, ma'am. And to finally begin this session, I'd like to welcome back on stage our curator and the moderator of this session, Architect Rahul Dalvi, the principal architect from Dalvi Associates, to kindly come and please conduct the Doyens panel. Can we please have a round of applause for our curator and all our panelists? Looking forward to a great panel. Thank you.
So guys, ready for it? So here to begin with, I was just thinking that, normally the panelists are asked one question and then everyone answers one after the other on the same thing. And the next one gets a cue of what is going to come, right? So instead of that, I've just kind of thought that let's have one question and only two people answer. So it becomes more individualistic and it doesn't become boring at the end. So let's begin with the most awarded person on the panel today. Dipen. So Dipen, why this monumentality is being discussed? What do you think? Monumentality is to create one's identity as a designer or an effort to hold on to it?
So I believe it's an ego as well. And very important is that ego is very important. I mean, this is essential. You can say that ego is not only useful for individual, but it is useful for the nation. At the same time, it is useful for entire era to build. And nothing wrong in it. According to me, monumental architecture is really, really need of the time. India being left over after our very gracious past. In between, we have left over after the British era. We have just left over building our essences. And in that entire, that era, we were looking at the world's monument. Whereas later on, once everything has been quite, stabilized, or you can say the governance, again that impact of that monumentality and the entire architecture again born back, you can say. So I believe that nothing is wrong if at all it is giving a proud to the people who are living around and being part of it. And it is not only giving energy and the economic but also the pride to the people who are associated with it. So according to me, it is need of a time, earlier also and now also, provided it should be definitely more inclusive in the nature, which is helpful to many people and it is for the public. So my take on this is I always go with the monumental architecture if at all given a chance, or it is satisfying not only ego but serving a lot of purposes.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. I think this is what should be appreciated, that it comes from the heart and isn't just a facade, right? So the same thing if Ashutosh you have to answer, will it be a little different or you'll have your own take on?
It will almost be the same. I think we at India are at a juncture where I can take the mic. I think we are at a juncture where we call ourselves as a developing country, and we are moving towards being a developed country. We are almost there, and I think this journey will only be completed with a lot of monumental architecture. So we look up to Rome or Paris and all these great cities, and everyone aspires to go there and look at these cities. I think now is the time when the world has to come to India and say, okay, I need to see Mumbai. I need to see not only the past, which is brilliant in India. We went through a curve, Our architecture was at a peak, be it Nalanda. I don't consider Mughal architecture, which is glorified. Yes, it is, but before Mughal architecture, there was much beyond. Ajanta, Ellora and Nalanda happened thousands of years back, and That was the peak of architecture there, monumental architecture in India. Then as colonization started, went down, and then our architecture, our buildings now, let's say typically in a place in Mumbai where I stay, is all a colonial past, which is, I'm not debating whether it's right or wrong, but our structures are associated with what the British built. And now is a time for India, I think, to build its own monuments, which the whole world will see. It's not only India as a presence in the economic world, but it's also going to be the architectural world that is going to be a big part in the future.
Wonderful, yeah. That's really nice, really nice. So when you look at it, Hitesh, if I need to ask you that, again coming back to monumental architecture, is it scale driven? Is it concept driven? Or you can say it is just like a personal ego? According to you, I mean, we are only just having.
I feel monumental architecture, if we look at the Indian reference, we talk about a monument architecture in India, so we think Taj Mahal or any buildings which are not functional. I mean, it's a like, but I think in British era we had even the VT station. What do you say? It's a monumental architecture piece and still functioning so well. Unfortunate part is the upcoming projects or like even the Sardar statue. To be honest, just to prove you are there. Apart from that, it's not brought in day to day. The monumental architecture has to be the concept driven, the scale definitely. But I think when it will start, we start thinking the way you explained the Frank Lloyd Wright, that the way of thinking towards a small scale private residence which has become a monumental architecture by itself. If the younger architects or the generation start thinking and take that approach, then I believe like we have a lot of opportunities. So many airports coming in, the railway stations, or so many new buildings coming in which are functional but not being thought as a monumental architecture or an identity. Why do we need to make a separate building, a Sardar statue, to show the monumental architecture or like to prove the world? Maybe when all architects or the designer community will start thinking this ego, that my upcoming all the public buildings or a private, the fresh thinking and giving that monumentality to your all upcoming buildings will, I think that will bring the change or the approach towards the design. It's been thought separately at present. I feel that the bigger scale of some building, the biggest statue in the world will be monumental. No, I think there was a lot of opportunities in India upcoming, which if it has been taken as the monumental concept, then definitely I think monumentality is good, but not need to construct the separate buildings for it. I think the upcoming so many projects with any scale where you can bring in that thought process. That's what my take is.
So continuing with that, the same question to you. What I meant was that is monumentality a concept? I mean, the requirements remain the same, the scale remains the same. But as a designer, does it remain as a concept-driven exercise, or is it purely because of the scale it becomes monumental?
I think both. Am I audible? Scale, of course, is a very, very strong factor in creating that monumentality, to create that awe, to create that grandeur. Like we showed Calatrava's example, where you said that you felt so small, because the scale is what made it monumental to you. At the same time, as a concept, when you showed Falling Waters, it was a concept, it was a private dwelling, but it's monumental today to each one of us, right? It is the concept that became monumental. So I think your slideshow covered it all. To me, monumental is, of course, a need of the hour, as very rightly said. We have to bring back the Indian architectural vocabulary. We again have to bring it to its glory. there has been a bit of a vacuum. And to me, if you do anything with passion, if you take each project of yours with passion, it could be monumental. It could be a simple private dwelling, but it is still monumental.
Quite well said. Yeah, yeah, very well said. Swapnil, to come back to you, I think there is some. Yeah. So Swapnil, asking you a different question here. What would be your take on inclusive interiors? Inclusive interiors.
Okay, so so the interiors, or say inclusive or universal architecture, in interiors or in architecture, it is constantly addressed incompletely, and it is not integrated in the projects as a fundamental part of the design process. So what is inclusive inclusive interiors, if or architecture, because usually what I practice interiors as an architectural interiors and not the interior decoration. So play of lights, differentiating planes, highlighting depth planes, highlighting the colors. So inclusivity needs to be a design for all. And when we say that it's a design for all, that means regardless of age, religion, caste, cultures, then again it has to cater to the sensory, sensory, what it is called, sensory deprived people. So for me, the interiors, they have to look into the way that is not really right now practiced in India in a way that it actually needs to be. So how do we do that? So in the design process, the influence or integration of materials and the sensitive use of it is very important. And considering the relation which exists between in the architecture, between the architecture and the senses. Now, sensory disabled people or sensory disability creates barrier. And how do we overcome that? So by introducing different, say, textures or different, different textures or different materials or different spaces, or introducing in internal courtyards, or colors to the signages, or furniture, structural elements. By all these things, now these features are actually very useful and functional for the people with the low vision. So such elements, if we keep on using consciously in our interiors, it would be a more meaningful interiors for everyone in the world.
Okay.
So I would also like to share a very interesting fact here, that there is a university called Gallaudet University, which is the only university for the deaf people in the world, which is the only university in the world which is for deaf people. And they have come up with deaf space principles, which are something like 250 plus. And for this, out of which more than 150 principles are architectural elements. so, which such architectural elements which focuses more towards the rich, multi-sensory, disabled, rich environment for these people, and also it enhances the well-being of all, creates, enriches the enriches their longevity and gives them the comfort level. So such safe and convenient spaces which are good, which are workable for everyone. So I would call it the inclusive interiors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine, fine. Pretty well described, one. I mean, very different way of looking at after thinking about monumentality going on to inclusiveness is pretty
Because
different way of looking at it.
inclusivity is not just about the people, it's about everyone. Everyone means animals, pets, everyone. The space should cater to all. And when the world is going towards, religion, cultural, gender equality, when it is going towards the safe and convenient convenient spaces for and the most comfortable spaces environment, creating more comfortable environment for the sensory people. I think the inclusivity is more directed towards that and not just for the normal people like us.
Right. Very well said. Very well. Well, a very different way to look at it, probably. We are only celebrating everything, but very few may think about inclusivity towards everyone. That's absolutely fine. So, coming to your take, I mean, you are from an era wherein India had the fresh monuments happening. The Britishers came in, gave a different lease to the architectural value, and they created many. Probably in your college days, it might have been the time wherein you would have seen it, at a very close eye when India didn't have the resources then, but had a lot of monuments to be seen and applauded. What is your take on certain examples which the senior architects back then, though in a very limited manner, had that as a resource, but they did great work?
After the independence, I mean, there was a lot of development happened in India. I mean, Bentley Corbusier was working there, Bernard Corn was working, and of course our Indian architects Charles Correa and Doshi, they were also in forefront. I would like to cite an example of Charles Correa, basically Gandhi Ashram, say, which is actually designed as a public space, but it is very much inclusive because it is to the human scale. The spaces in between are very friendly, and the materiality and the design language is completely inclusive, I would say, in the right sense. But there is something beyond inclusiveness, I feel, and that is a belongingness. Though the architecture is inclusive, if it misses the belongingness, then that inclusiveness becomes a little bit, not truly inclusive. A belongingness, once the space starts talking to the occupant in an inclusive architecture, that means it establishes a dialogue with the occupant. And that dialogue between the space, the light quality, and all that, so it becomes in a true sense inclusive. Because the occupant, when moves into the inclusive architecture, he takes back the memory of the movement within the architecture. So that is the power of inclusive architecture. And that is what I think Korea did it in a Gandhi Ashram. But while doing that human scale in the Gandhi Ashram, he equally achieved the same kind of a scale in a monumental architecture, so-called, you can call it a monumental architecture, when he designed Kanchenjunga building. You look at that building and still being a monumental and being to the urban scale,
it also talks about the human scale and the habitat within those buildings. So that is the achievement of this post-independence era Indian architects have done. Giving some examples abroad, I mean, the architects, how they are working. You have shown the Guggenheim, which is the most important, very dear building to me. And when you move into the Manhattan, you see the skyscrapers all around, which is a monumental architecture. But you don't get much impressed with that because I don't get much impressed with that because I feel that that monumental architecture is so close that every tower is competing with each other, and in turn, they lose their identity as a independent monumental architecture. But you walk down the Manhattan and come to the Guggenheim scale is small compared to the tower architecture of the Manhattan. But still, I feel Guggenheim stands tall in front of the building because of its inclusivity and because of its timelessness of architecture, and also it is on the threshold of the modernism when it started. Like that, it is very important. And another example I will give again at the other end of the Manhattan, where there is Oculus recently done by Calatrava. When I think Limskind was designing the Ground Zero building, that time I think he imagined a wedge of light. That was his kind of a principle, what he is talking to Calatrava, that I have imagined a wedge of light. And Calatrava did a painting on the site of a pigeon releasing from the hand. And that's how the oculus took the shape of a pigeon. And he designed the structure in such a way that there's a drama of a light inside, and it became a mesmerizing space for the people to use it as a transportation hub. So again, it is an inclusive architecture. Again, it is not a tall and gigantic, but the form itself is so much inclusive and so much belongingness is there. I think this inclusiveness, the space, what I feel in the inclusion, the first example, the best example which I have learned is the children playing under a cot. So why do they play under a cot? So that particular scale, they will always find a, so this is what we architects should not forget while designing a monumental building which is inclusive, and also the inclusive building which is not monumental, but you should have a big dialogue and belongingness. That is all.
Fantastic.
Super.
This is fantastic. So this is exactly what is Japanese architecture. I mean, if I look at it. So, when you said, sir, very correctly, that when you go in this monumental era of Chicago architecture or Manhattan, then suddenly something is dwarfed. And then that takes the eye. When you have something horizontal, suddenly Calatrava's liege will take the eye. So when you are going against the tide, be it tall or be it short, I think that becomes monumental in that context. And you very rightly said that at the end, the human scale is something that we always are associating. That makes it more inclusive.
In an old example, if I have to give you the monumental architecture, look at the Colosseum. The Colosseum is one of the old buildings which is for the public use. And still it is the monumental building. But at the same time, Romans did amphitheaters, which are carved out of the rock or hillside. And it's kind of a non-building architecture, but still it is monumental architecture. A non-building architecture, to make it a monumental, we have to learn these lessons from Romans only.
So true, very true. So I think this dialogue should just go on here. Huh? I mean, we should only be listeners to them. So just trying to make a change. I mean, Ashutosh, you do lavish interiors. I mean, from what I understand. So how much is the external context or the shell important for you when you're looking at it from the interiors? I mean, here again, it's like being inclusive and having monumentality inside, which is a diabolic opposite to what it is outside.
I think when we look at the space from within, what we see outside, I think that makes a lot of impact on the interiors when we look at understanding the whole structure. For example, if you're doing a brilliant house which has got fantastic sea views, I think the key is not to compete with that view, it's only to complement that. So we would try to do it in the most simplistic, most, like you said, the Zen way of doing it. Obviously, there are riders that clients want more is more and not less is more. But yeah, we try our best that we explain them. Now with all the 3D and all the walkthroughs, it becomes easier to explain to them that we're doing a house which is overlooking entire Borivali National Park. And it's been like a whole challenge to explain the client that we cannot match that whole beauty surroundings. One of the very few apartments which get uninterrupted views. You cannot see any concrete from that house. You open the windows and Borivali National Park is what you see, and the sky. And at that time, I think, like Sir said, sense of belonging to that can only be achieved by doing the most simplistic things, trying to get a certain amount of nature, greenery within the house to complement that use of minimal colors or colors that flow with the nature and not go completely against that nature. I think if you are able to do that, a good interiors can be achieved in that context.
And the same thing, if I have to ask you, Hitesh, will it make it very difficult for you to fit in a different kind of interiors in an external shell that you have done? You yourself have done architecture, and the client has a different perspective of having a different shell inside. Would you be comfortable with that, or would you try to change it to complementing each other?
I think it is surely audible. Normally, it doesn't happen because once you do an architecture for any client, what I understand that both and you are doing an interior for the same project, and you mean to say the client is the same. So I believe it's if you gel with each other or you understand the philosophy behind designing it, it is not difficult to convey the belongingness or inclusiveness or the approach towards architecture. I think that is what you try to extend. And sometimes, yes, because of other influences, the client or they have the other approach towards the design, you need to educate them. It is definitely difficult, but I think eventually you come to a page where like you try to bring in your architecture approach into your interior design. I think it is not possible, to be honest, to design totally a different approach or the, yeah.
You do a lot of hospitals and hospitality is what I believe, right? So now when you say hospitals, there's a different scale attached to it. So in one way, you're looking at a patient who's coming there, who needs solace, who needs easier access, the feeling of, not getting awed by the scale. And at the second point, when you have larger hospitals, the scale itself becomes a diabolic opposite of the feeling that you want to give a patient. Like, for the patient, it should be inclusive, that easily approachable, easily attainable, approachable to anyone. So in these kind of situations, there are two ways that I believe hospitals work. I mean, what is your take on it? As a designer, you want to make it pompous, or you would want to make it more accessible, or it is again hospital-driven program?
It's a wonderful question because during our span of healthcare spaces that we do, we have come across both situations. In smaller clinics and diagnostic centers, we are very emotionally driven towards our design because the end user comes in not by choice but by need, comes with fear and anxiety. So our approach has always been how to calm them and how that space, that shell, helps them in their healthcare journey. So when we're doing a smaller center, diagnostic center or a single specialty center, it definitely is more inclusive in terms of the scale. We do bring in a lot of elements of biophilic elements and the mute of sound of water to comfort them down. So that is the things. But when it comes to a larger hospitals, the main Emotions are still the same. The difference is the volume of people coming in. Whereas in one center meeting, we'll have 100 people coming in an OPD in a hospital, I have 2,000 patients coming in. And therefore, for that volume of people, we have to have that scale. It still has to be inclusive. The hospital is not a monumental building to create awe. It's not a thing to reflect seat of power. It's for the people. And it should definitely be inclusive in that sense. It's just the scale changes to accommodate everybody.
It's actually a nice answer, but these days we are finding relevance to a hospital and a hotel.
Oh yes.
So there is a different way to look at it. The more hotelish they are, the better business it is, and that's how they sell. So
that's a lot to do with lifestyles today, right? Today we all live in a certain amount of luxury, which was not there earlier. That's now become the basic. The aspirations have changed a lot, and therefore and now also the ROIs. Right, a investor in a hospital is looking at ROI. There are people willing to pay for a suite in a hospital. I mean, Fortis is doing that, and lots of other hospitals are following suit. So yes, we all crave, or it's not crave anymore. It is a basic need, a certain level of luxury that has come in. So therefore, even hospitals are doing that, and therefore, in tier 1, tier 2 cities, it's become a mandate. In fact, even some of the tier 3 cities are saying we want to be that. It's an aspirational need now. It's that's what's making it hospital to hotel look very similar. Let's be working both.
So you very rightly said before we started that today's monument is tomorrow's history.
Absolutely.
And if everyone just keeps on listening to it, I mean, today's monument is tomorrow's history. You realize that what we are adulating today was last time's monument and today's historical monument.
Given a chance, if architect gets a chance to create a monumental architecture, he should also remember that he has to do a timeless, because it is going to be
history
tomorrow. I think basically what is happening is monumental word has been taken over by iconic word. Most of the clients come to an architect and they say, not a monumental architect, they say, we want iconic architecture. And then the architects get entangled into shapes and forms, and sometimes he forgets the function of the building. He is more into shapes and forms. To create a good monumental architecture or a good inclusive architecture, for me, the most important is the romance. If architect forgets the romance with the space, romance with the shapes, the romance with the proportions, it's that romance and that handling of that architecture that way will only create and establish a dialogue between the occupant and an architecture. However, the tall or a big building, that cuddling, the building should cuddle you, you should cuddle the building. That feeling has to be there. The architect should not forget that romantic aspect, which is most important according to me, and not only go after iconic things. When you see this building or something, it's purely a romance. There is nothing else. It's an architecture. But how immediately it establishes wow factor. For a common man also, it doesn't take time to say wow. It's like looking at a good painting. You may not be knowing a science of painting, what Hussein is painting or what Picasso has done. But something, if touches your heart, you immediately say wow. In iconic and monumental architecture, that element is similar there. Without analyzing, without doing things, you see a temple architecture or you see a church architecture, but you immediately say wow. So in fraction of second, your analysis, your brain has worked and given a receipt. How good are you? That only comes through the approach of romance. That's what.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. We are actually learning a lot.
I wanted to add a small thing. Like sir said, the sense of belonging. We have seen airports which are larger than Mumbai International Airport, way larger, and airports which are smaller. But I think the way Mumbai International Airport has been designed, they've done a fabulous job. You know, we all feel very associated with the space. I remember traveling, everyone's traveling a lot now, and whenever we go through Mumbai International Airport, we sense a feeling of home, you know, home there. The way the art has been, the way the culture has been put up, the way the detailing there is flamboyance, but in a very subtle and nice manner. It's showing the world that we've arrived and we are now going to build airports, but in a limited scale. Obviously, in a city like Bombay, we can't build something what a Shanghai or a Guangzhou has built. But I think that this is a classic example of a monumental, iconic structure, which also is extremely inclusive. It's taken care of the people. Maybe the scale has gone wrong now, but people never thought the conversion of rural to urban into flying, and people are flying like crazy now. So yeah, but if you leave only the scale apart, the monumentality, the iconic nature, the inclusivity, everything, I think that's one structure which I feel has ticked all the boxes.
Absolutely agree with you. I was going to say this also when I was going to just mention about the airports. I mean, the way we see the airports, they all look alien in our land, except the Mumbai airport. So if you look at it, is it the context that plays a major role of the romance between the space and an architect? Does the context, the culture also play a major role into that?
Major role into that, yeah. One more point I would like to, that when architect is given assignment of monumental architecture, means the subject is a public scale and urban scale. So naturally, it's going to be the huge scale, and then you are going to attempt something which is eye-catching, but not forgetting the functions and all it. It is our duty to create a good architecture around, because for the next generation, if a child grows into a bad architecture surrounding, I mean, if it's just a shape-oriented and just for the heck of it, it is done, and it has no life because it dies immediately, but it still remains like a monstrous presence on the earth. But it equally spoils the next generations. That is important. I felt myself very lucky in Baroda because I was surrounded by such a beautiful architecture in Baroda. I mean, Sayajirao Maharaj has created all iconic buildings. Most of the institution buildings are iconic. Like I was telling you, our Kirti Mandir is as equal to Taj Mahal in Delhi, because both have got similar functions. I mean, it is kind of a mausoleum or whatever you say. But Kirti Mandir, that time also he had like imagine what it could be, or music college is like a poetry. So if as a child, if you are like developing your senses right from the childhood, and if you are surrounded by such monumental architecture, then naturally your taste is going to improve. But nowadays, I think I'm very much worried about the kind of clients asking architect, iconic architecture, architect doing it for the heck of it, is actually not contributing to the society. That is what is my worry.
So having said that, your earlier statement about today's monument is tomorrow's history, so you may be worried about the tomorrow's history. Quick take on the north and the west. So quick question to a Delhiite and a Mumbaiite. What do you think about the old parliament versus the new parliament building?
Ooh. A very debatable topic you brought up. Well, it does have the context. It's built around the context, but does it have the iconic, monumental vocabulary of India today and tomorrow?
No.
I mean, they could have been. If we had an opportunity to define the monumental India today, that would reflect the future. But the interiors definitely, since you talked of interiors, does have that monumentality. It has the grandeur. A lot of the arts have been reflected there. But as a build form, I think a lot more.
Brewing controversy here. Huh?
I know.
I think the scale is obviously they had a thought of expanding the constituencies and looking at much more than what the current constituencies are. So having more parliamentarians and etc., which is fine. Population is increasing, etc., and we definitely needed a bigger
So in that sense, it's inclusive.
Yes.
It's a very inclusive building. It has a lot of tech integrated. It's accessible to all. They in fact they have tours for people to come and see. So inclusive building for sure.
Monumental, no. Could have been. That's a personal. It could have been made in a much, I would say, monumental, more flamboyant manner, which would be belongs to India, new India. It doesn't show the
It
new
was a
India.
defining moment to define the vocabulary of
Now
India.
was the right time actually to show the entire world that we're building a parliament, and we are going to make it iconic for the next 200 years, not 100 years.
I mean, like you rightly said, the previous parliament was from the colonial architects, and it reflected that monumentality at that time. The need of the hour changed, right? And the number of parliamentarians required need changed. It was an opportunity to showcase India today.
In a very similar context, I had said this before somewhere that the old Pragati Maidan for me was more monumental than the new one.
Indeed,
And
agreed.
I'm sure this is also brewing controversy, but I went there as a kid. I stayed in Delhi for 2-3 years. My dad was posted there, and he used to always take me to Pragati Maidan, and I have such lovely memories of going there. The entire volume, you stand there and look at the structure, and at that time it used to look like larger than life. You had not seen a public space like that. Honestly, the new one today doesn't give you that kind of.
I would say context and relevance both are important. So while we talk about designing a new age, new India parliament, again the context setting is of equal consequence, because again you can't be building a skyscraper amidst, best of the line, much celebrated Lutyens. But now coming, I have a question to what Chandrasekhar ji so rightly said. I mean, do we celebrate our monuments enough? And do you think there is a sheer disregard to such wonderful edifices which eventually would get lost in the sands of time? So is the belongingness coming from citizens that inclusive that it instills a sense of pride? Be it legacy, be it pedigree, be it provenance, heritage, culture, everything, integral to it? I mean, do India as a nation, do we really celebrate our monuments?
No, we don't.
It's a brilliant question. Talking about the scale of the new parliament. No, we're not asking it has to be a glass building. What is the new India? So we could have addressed that. But our monuments are not celebrated. I think it has a much larger context. Do we take pride in our country, in what we do? Are we still aspirational towards the West? Because once we are proud of what we are as Indians, even the monuments are part of it, because it is the culture. The buildings reflect the culture. The buildings reflect us. How we treat our buildings reflect us as a nation, I think.
So you rightly said our monuments have not been celebrated, and if you can see many of the example of the government offices which has been rested in the beautiful structures which has been built earlier, you will really feel pity about it. Even the Nyay Mandir or many Khandera Market, Nyay Mandir, example in Baroda. But even in Bombay, there are fantastic buildings, and where the government offices and other offices has been reset right now, you feel really pity about the way it has been treated now, and it has been, not neglected completely. And people are going with the horrible way of using them. So it is not been celebrated. It is really unfortunate part of it.
I think only Rajasthan as a state, I would say in general, has celebrated their architecture, made it available to the world to see. I'm not saying this in a general manner, in a very. So other states probably have not done enough justice to their structures, because we ourselves don't take forts of Maharashtra. I've always said this, and I want to be a part in the future to make the forts iconic monuments which have been the start of the whole Maratha Empire. It's everyone will say that my state has that potential of having a whole tourism hub, but we don't glorify. The Japanese know more about Ajanta Ellora than we Indians do, which is, I think, a very sad story. The whole architecture of Ellora, nobody knows. It's a whole different thing altogether, but it's not glorified, like you said.
And also the business modeling that comes from a heritage structure. I think it's, India has such a strong legacy. I mean, so many states, I mean, such wonderful edifices. I mean, it can be beautifully leveraged. It can be, there can be a strong revenue model that the government can, it can create, it can co-create with public-private partnership and so many things.
Aurangabad has the potential to become a Rome actually, but we didn't do that.
Baroda airport, I think we look at the architecture, I think our past VT stations and now the upcoming all, I think bullet train stations. I think we are not at all either celebrating or taking any referral or the all upcoming new modern era buildings have no value of monument.
One of the most pathetic material which should ban from India is aluminum composite panel, because that is the material which has been raped, the core architecture. That is the material which is completely ruined the things. And as you rightly said, that people are not ready to adopt the old because there is no new money to distribute, because a new project, new money, new distribution. So entire system is such that is working on the ecosystem of, that corruption and the corruption. So there's also one of this very, very pathetic, the situation we can say. But there are certain material which is really, really way beyond thinking on the level of adopting that in the new architecture.
I've said the negative side. I'll give a small example of the positive side. I went to a small airport called Kolhapur, and it's a newly opened airport down south Maharashtra. And the city has a lot of heritage. And I think the first time I felt happy looking at the airport that it's built with the local basalt stone. The entire, of course, they couldn't build the entire airport with the basalt stone, but as a tourist or someone who's approaching the airport, the whole facade is done the way the old forts or the old palaces or the structures are done during the Maratha Empire. And it gives a very subtle hint of what the architecture in Maharashtra was 400 years back. So I think very small, it's a minuscule size airport, not compared to any tier 3 city also. But I think the elevation was very well, and I felt positively happy that someone's paid at least 50% attention to detail and tried to get that hint there right.
Same way Baroda earlier airport, it was much better.
Yeah, I did see it today, and I thought it should be retained as a museum, I guess.
So, and again, putting all these things and then putting all glossy tiles in the flooring is again very, very controversial. So things are endless, and
I think identity is important.
So,
As well as a
materiality.
Yeah.
You can say this, there are no tile sponsors today.
Yeah. And no ACP guys here.
I think you said it very rightly that our heritage architecture or whatever monument India is having is not celebrated enough. The main problem, according to me, lies in encroachment. Our Indians are expert in encroachment. We encroach our neighbors' privacy also. We encroach into FSI spaces also. We encroach everywhere. That is our basic Indian policy. And we encroach our historical monuments. And there is no foreground left. If you see to our best of the temples in South India or even the palaces or forts, and there is filth around and there is an encroachment around. And unless we clear that encroachment, there has to be a national policy for the tourism. Because if you want to really project our India and so much heritage, so much wealth we have, and we are not using it, what kind of a pathetic situation there can be. So I think the main issue is of encroachment. That mentality has to be gone, and we have to vacate those all historical monumental places which are encroached very badly. And we have to create a foreground around, clear that area, rehabilitate those shopkeepers and hutmaids. And the other day I had gone to the Sindhudurga fort right inside. And it is such a marvelous example of when Shivaji built that fort right in the sea. And look at the situation inside. The fort which is in the sea, also there is encroachment inside. So we haven't left anything. We have to very seriously think. I mean, there has to be some good political will and some good policies. I think should be a technological priority.
Great, I think so. We have discussed much farther than what we should have, but fantastic points taken. I think everyone said so wisely. There's so many.
But Rahul, one thing, the way you presented everything, we all were worried now what we are going to say. I was trying to tell him, I think somebody explained your cricket background or something. But my name is Chandrasekhar. I am supposed to play googly, and you right from the you started playing googly with us.
Sir, I was a pace bowler.
आपने opening पे आके 200 मारा तो now the middle order is wondering whether we should come out or not.
No, but it was a absolutely meaningful insight from all of you. I mean, applaud to them. I mean, the way they have put a different perspective altogether. Wonderful to hear each one of you and the concerns that every one of us has for India. Thank you so much. And Mohit, I'll just correct you on one point. I mean, as a college student, we have been to Mandavgarh, as what was mandatory in MS University, like the second year, third year. Mandavgarh is the study tour. After college, yesterday, I was there. And I was amazed to see the way they have maintained it. The ASI has done a fabulous job. Not a single litter, not a smallest of plastic was there on entire Jahaz Mahal or entire Mandu. Day before yesterday was Eid, so heavy crowd was expected. Yesterday was Ganesh Visarjan, heavy crowd was expected, but it was spick and span. Everyone who was coming there was respecting the pressings, and I think we as the population are also changing, and the governance is also changing is what I would like to say. So what we have seen and heard may be different for different places, but I think so in terms of tourism spaces and maintaining the monuments, we should little bit give credit to ASI for now, because I have just seen it yesterday. So I think if this remains the fact, then we have a lot of monuments to cherish and a lot of proud feeling that we all Indians should be having in very near future. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Interesting presentation, panel discussion. I would request Mr. Mohit Ajela, Group Head Business Development from Jaguar, India, and along with him, Mr. Bibhor Srivastav, Managing Director Events from ITP Media Group, to please come on stage and felicitate our panelists. And before that, can we have a huge round of applause for this panel? Indeed, it was the most interesting one. life. Thank you for the regional sales manager from Vapicure, to kindly come on stage and elaborate further about their top quality wall paints. This is the
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. First of all, it's a pleasure to be presenting to this esteemed audience here. I am Anup Nair. I'm the regional manager for MRF Vapicure Paints. So just as I was stepping in for the function, I just heard somebody say that, say, MRF paint bhi banata hai kya? So, right. So I think my presentation would cover a lot about what we do in paint space and how we will take it forward. So before I again go into the presentation, I think Mr. Dipen was speaking about ACP in the earlier year. So I think his comment on this as a paint guide makes me really happy, because less of ACP means more of paints. So somewhere, thanks a lot for that. So MRF, our tagline is paint that good life. So we believe in celebrating life. We believe in celebrating life with colors. MRF Corp Limited is a fully owned subsidiary of MRF Limited. So the tire business is while the face of the company or the more popular. We also own brands like Fun School, which is into toys. So different aspects of life are touched by us. We are in the business of adding aesthetics and harmony to homes for over 3 decades. So we are into the paint business for over 3 decades. Primarily, we were focusing on the B2B part of the business with a focus into B2C recently. We have a complete range of decorative products. We are an ISO 9001 2015 certified. We also have a range of products which are Green Pro certified. We have 3 fully equipped manufacturing facilities at Chennai, a full-fledged R&D center also in Chennai to support with the latest innovations and continuous product developments. We have a pan-India strong distribution networks in the eastern part of the country, the western part of the country, the northern part or the southern part. We are present everywhere. We have a business development team to support the architects, interior designers, engineers and builders. And this is what we believe in. We believe that good living starts with good looking spaces. Our product segments are broadly divided into 4, which is wall finish, wood finish, metal finish, and the performance products. So wall, wood, and metal refer to the substrate on which our products can be applied. And then a range of products which are for your specific needs. That comes under the performance products. In the wall finish, the first product I'd like to introduce to you is Ruka, which is our luxury wall finish for interiors. The product comes with a 10-year warranty. It is an interior emulsion, the highlight being the smooth and satin finish which most of your clients would want. We have a 151 exclusive shades which are for this particular product alone. Then we have Aquafresh, which is our super premium product. This is a Green Pro certified product with a superior UV resistance. While the product mentions in the slide 7 years of warranty, we have extended the warranty by 1 more year. So currently all our products come with a 8-year warranty for Aquafresh. We have a 1014 shades exclusively for Aquafresh. The product comes in both interior and exterior range. So this is the interior range where we have 1100 shades only for the interior product. All our emulsions have a very high degree of washability. So the wall finish that I am showing, all the products come with a very high level of washability. All the products have scratch shield technology, so they are more resistant to scratches. And there is a color lock technology also. So the color retention is higher compared to any other competition. This is a unique product that we have in our stable, which is Altura. Altura is a two-in-one product. So while most of the emulsions can be applied either in the exterior and then you have a specific product for interior, this product is an all-rounder. So since we are in Baroda, kind of a Hardik Pandya. So it can be applied exterior, it can be applied interior, and then we have 1100 shades. So if some project has to be done quickly and then you want to get it done fast, you have a product which suits all your needs. Then we come to our economical range. The earlier ones were all the premium ranges. We have Campus, which is an exterior range, and Visa, which is an interior range. Both the products come in Shine and the regular variant. So Shine is if your project requires a high level of sheen, then you can opt for the Shine variant also. We have around 937 exclusive shades which cater to the entire. This product, the earlier product, is also Green Pro certified product. Coming to the product Aquafresh Dam Guard, the warranty here shows 8 years, but again we have an extension of 10 years now. The highlight of this product is it reduces temperatures up to 10 degrees. So you can use it as a base coat, you can use it as an independent coat. It also helps in avoiding seepage and removing dampness from the walls, which is a common problem here. The film is tough and flexible, and the versatility of temperature is evident with the fact that it reduces temperature by around 10%, 10 degrees, sorry. These are the primers to complement our range. So we have a primer in Aquafresh, we have a Altura wall primer, and then we have Cello wall primer. Wood finish, which is our most known range, we start with Aquacoat PU, which is an interior PU, which is 1K, so which is just one component. The product is available in glossy, matte and clear finishes. It is water based, hence low VOC and low in odor. For exteriors, we recommend 2K PU, so which offers a higher UV resistance. Again, it carries forward it's a low VOC product, and then it's environmental friendly. Wood coat is the conventional premium wood coat wood finish range that we have, offering the highest degree of UV resistance among any category, any competition. It is stain resistant and it also has scratch shield. Wood coat Italia is basically the Italian formulation, so a lot of wood coating or the clients would prefer Italian finishes for your projects. In that case, we have a product called Wood Coat Italia, which is available in high gloss clear, matte, white and white matte. And we have a range of, again, economical PU called Easy Wood and Fresh Wood, Treat Wood and Melamine. So right from the basic to high-end PU. Coming to metal finishes. Metal finishes are, the product Metal Coat that you see right now is a product which has been used in a lot of government projects also. So the Sabarmati riverfront, we have a product called Metal Coat Charcoal, which has been used in that product. And if you look at it, this product is something which is a specifier driven product and offers the highest degree of durability among any competition. So this is a best in class product. The biggest advantage that it has is an anti-rust property and a moisture lock plus a higher UV resistance. In Metal Coat, we have the flexibility to develop around 2,900 shades using our Metal Coat base. We also have an economy range of PU, which is known as urethane. Now this generally is a very good replacement for enamel, because enamel being the lowest category, this helps us with an upgrade. In the other finishes, we have acrylic superfine 1K, Specta and Epidec. Through the performance products, what we have is I'll start with glass coat. Glass coat is basically paint for your glass. So you can have pigmented finishes for your glass. Zameen PU floor paint is basically for your paver blocks, for your parking system. So it offers high durability for such product. You have Aquafresh Cool, which you can apply for on the terrace, and then it claims the temperature can go down by around 12 degrees. We have Altura Metallic, which is basically metallic finishes. Some of our projects which are done use MRF paints. One is the Amma Memorial at Marina Beach, Chennai. So this was used, the product used was new wall coat PU. Marcus Knowledge City in Calicut, this was entirely done using the golden parts that you see are all Altura metallic gold. The suspension bridge in Punalur, Kerala, it was done using metal coat PU. And closer home, the 30-feet idol of Pramukh Swamiji Maharaj at the centenary celebrations, the entire idol was painted using acrylic superfine 1K metallic gold finish. Now coming to how do we support, we currently have a stall there, and we were thankful to a few delegates who came in, and few of them have used our products. But the feedback was there is a wider range of products that we have which not anyone is aware of. So I would request you, once the program is over, maybe if you can walk in and then show in your interest so that the team can come back to you at a suitable time and then meet and explain the products better. What we have is a stronger business development team. We offer free product sampling for all our products. So at any point of time for a certain project, you would want to see how a certain product looks like. Then our team is there for that. We have a project paint preview. So in case you want a digital preview of the products, of how a certain product would look at, we can do that. We currently have 4 distribution centers, regional distribution centers, and 40 plus sales depots. So product availability is not a problem. We have a strong channel network of more than 10,000 dealers across the country. We have a technical team to support you in terms of any support required. Also, for few of your projects, if in case you required site supervision, we will be more than happy to extend that to you. And also in terms of high volume, in case there is a high volume shade which you want to be customized for your requirement, we can do that also. So thanks a lot from my end, and my request would be at any point of time, should you need any support, please be in touch with us. Our team is there, more than happy to help you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. And now finally moving on to our next and final panel discussion. I'd now like to invite our next gen panelist with new age architects who will build the architecture of tomorrow. And to commence this, I'd like to invite on stage our very first speaker, architect Ishan Grover, the principal architect and design director from Karan Grover and Associates. Can we please have a huge round of applause? Next, we have architect Jagjit Saluja, founder and principal architect from Swabhiman Architects. Can we please have you on stage? Next is architect Shaurya Patel, principal architect from Uneven. Next in line, we have architect Vaibhavi Thakkar Desai, principal architect, educator, and proprietor from TV Studio Designs and Consultants LLP. And last but not the least, we have with us architect Vaibhav Khatri, director of Vaibhav Corporation. Thank you so much everyone for coming. On behalf of ITP Media, I welcome you all to the Next Gen panel. And of course, to commence this panel, I request architect Rahul Dalvi, principal architect from Dalvi Associates, to come on stage yet again and kick off this debate. Can we please have a round of applause for our moderator?
Good evening to everyone. So the same question start answering, no? So we already talked to the seniors, right? So everyone have their own issues, and so would the younger generation, right? So to check on with you, how much liberty do you have to create monuments? Ishan, to begin with, as a younger generation, when we as senior generation also have a problem with our clients who don't let us do what we want to do, being a younger generation, are you given that freedom to create a monumental structure? Or you're told to do what they would want you to do?
Well, firstly, you guys have made us work very hard to, it's 9 o'clock and I'm very hungry, so you're making us work very hard. But thank you for that question, Rahulji. I've been in practice for 8 years now. I'm the principal at KGA. It's a 40-year-old practice. Most of you might know Karan Grover and Associates. It all starts, of course, with what the client brings and what the typology of that project is. So, for example, we are currently doing a police training center. It's a government project. It was a competition that we won in 2020. It's sort of spread across 110 acres on a riverfront near Ahmedabad. The idea of the master plan and the architecture language that we had to create was not only dictated by the client themselves, but of course, as the architects, we were given the responsibility to drive that design language. So we, of course, had to understand who are the people using the space, right? Who are the people coming to this training center? And they are the people who are from rural backgrounds. And so we had to create a series of buildings. There are almost 22 different types of buildings. It had to be something that they could easily relate to. We could not build something Zaha Hadid-esque or something that was very European, but it had to be something that was Indian and responded to the context. But again, we all spoke about this in your earlier panel also about the scale of it all. So it's 150 acres, of course, it's large scale buildings, almost 1 lakh, 2 lakh square feet of individual buildings. But yes, so it was monumental in that sense, but it had to again relate to the people who are using it. So that's how we did it.
Right. So if I have to ask the same question to, say, you, I suppose you are a first generation architect, or?
Yeah. Yes, I'm the first generation architect.
So then is that story different for you?
Yeah, so I think it's not about the client comes and tells you that we want something monumental. I think it's sometimes an architect's wish as well that I want to deliver something monumental, where it's not been asked, but it's from your side. So we were designing a resort in Jodhpur, and the client wanted that I want a 100-room resort. That was the only brief, and something like spread it off. So I personally created something where there was a one-point perspective. So I got the concept of Baradari, which is a Rajasthani concept of a pavilion where the building stands on 12 pillars. So I created a one-point perspective. So for me, I have studied a lot of principles of the Indian architecture and the geometries and everything. So we created a one-point perspective where we come to the party lawn, then we come to the reception, then we come to the gardens and everything. So there's a one-point perspective. So like Taj Mahal, as you stand on the center of it, you see the charbagh, then you see the art. So everything is in one center. Also, so that was one where we delivered. Now another where I went to Ajmer. And now the project was about delivering a international spiritual Sufi center. So I think your spirituality also, somewhere finds a thing actually on how you are able to find those things or not. So I was in touch with them and they asked me to, to make it everything. So honestly, that was my firm started in November 22 after working for 6 years for many different architects. So at that time, I delivered to them. We made a design and everything, but then there's always a project funding when it comes to monumental. That's a very the very true reality. When it comes to monumental, there's a lot of when it comes to religion organizations, there is always a lot of funding required. Where if it comes to government or some kind of kingly or something which is a private, that comes an easy thing. So I think it's both ways. Sometimes it's just that you wish that you want to deliver something monumental. Otherwise, people tell you, and then it just comes out of your luck and whether you're destined to build that or not. That's what I can say.
Fine. Sure, coming to you. Please.
Yeah. So it's good to be there on the next gen architect on the panel. I've been struggling from 19 years to create something monumental. I've created many of them, like some of them. Let's see, over the period, people like it and they convert, they started getting into, it gets believed as monumental, I would be glad. That was a joke.
No, absolutely. But your joke is actually well taken because of the fact that you are one of the architects in Baroda who has been most experimental, you can say monumental in their own way, and only history can tell. Just like what Chandrasekhar ji said, that only history can tell about how those monuments behave in future. But yes, you are doing a fab job. Shaurya, just to ask you, do you think being monumental has an age bracket? Like very experimental and monumental when you are young, and then as you age, the wisdom comes in, and then you become simplistic. Do you think that? I mean, it's a general question.
No, I don't think so. Like, as an architect, you pass through different phases. Like initial, like 5 years are going to be more of where you want to, you have certain dreams, you have certain, fantasies, certain forms you want to create, and you work on that. Over the period 5 years down the line, you understand that it's being an architect is not about yourself or fulfilling your fantasies. It's about making someone else dream, no? So your design criteria changes. But again, yeah, if we talk about monumental things, then like it's about elements, it's about certain things which you want. For the initial days, I've been trying to pushing small, again, the word has changed, iconic forms or iconic characters to the building. Even if there is a budget restricted project or, the client is pulling things to the different direction, you try and add something to it, which, it becomes a little different than what everyone else is doing. So that's what I've been doing. So I don't think so it's going to be like age-related thing or no. I mean, no, nothing like that.
What about the same thing, Ishan? What do you think? I mean, Sir has been extremely celebrated architect at the national level, and his aggression was there in terms of being a designer. And over the years, that age would have also kind of made him mellowed down. Now you have taken up, and as a younger generation, you would have your own ways of creating your identity. So do you think the same question is relevant to you? Because you have seen it all. I mean, you have actually seen KGA, and then now you're taking over as a principal architect. So does that age bracket really make a difference to,
Well, there are many architects here, young and old, and I think all can say that with age, of course, comes wisdom and comes experience. I have 8 years of it. Have a long way to go. I'm very young in this field, but I don't think there is. You can't put an age to monuments in that sense, where only after a certain age you can build monumental architecture. I think it's the true grasp and understanding of who you're building for, where you're building, what the context is. Those are the things that are going to give you cues, and that's what we have learned and been trained for. We can look at Champaner, for example. I think a lot of our architecture today has come from a lot of our past, from our traditions, courtyards and jalis and wind catchers, and these are the things that we bring to the table, right? As an Indian architect, we're all very proud of these elements, and I think once we start to use this in a contemporary sense, we can really bring about monumental change and identity today.
So in that way, if you look at it, there is a monumental person in us and an inclusive person in us. So is that a mix, like you need to separate it out project to project, or is it a combination of both on all the projects?
Well, I think monumental architecture can be inclusive. Why not? I mean, but can an inclusive architecture, you can decide to make it monumental. But again, you know, when we are looking at inclusive architecture, we're actually looking at schools and hospitals. Those are the things that come to mind. And more often than not, you know, it's probably the budget of those sort of institutions is not as much as maybe a museum or a parliament house that we're looking at. So maybe, let's say, inclusive architecture is not always necessarily monumental, but monumental architecture can be inclusive.
That's actually a statement, I would say. Jumping from the same thing to you, Vaibhavi, because you are doing interiors, right? And you have done masters.
Yes.
Yeah. So just what he just mentioned, can inclusive interiors be practiced in monumental scale and monumentality brought into interiors in a very inclusive shell?
Absolutely, it can be. So we just like a year back recently did a project which was 800 square feet. And it's a retail store in Ahmedabad. And it is in the midst of a lot of other jewelry stores. And they are themselves one of the finest jewelers to do very fine miniature crafted ornaments. Now they wanted to stand out within this idea of 800 square feet. They had no, they didn't want to expand by the space to create monumentality, right? But the idea was all the mood boards, they were so well prepared and planned with the exposure that we have today. They got all the pictures of different palaces. And I'm like, okay, these are all palaces. The site that I visited is like a shell, which is a cube of cuboid, 800 square feet. And then we realized that we cannot define a space as a monument by just the scale. You know, how you beautifully gave a cue of power, right? But sometimes we have to also understand that it is not limited to a particular time. It is the timelessness that makes the monument, right? So it can be 800 square feet, it can be a 500 square feet. So the whole idea of understanding the product, which is the rarest, we understood the craftsmanship, which is basically our forte. In India, it is the second largest industry after agriculture. So understanding both these aspects, we created space that they started calling it this is one of the finest spaces, you know, like if you've seen production design, it's more like Sanjay Leela Bhansali set. In 800 square feet, we did everything that they wanted in terms of their needs and wants, but we also underlying both of it, we came in between to this idea that an 800 square feet space is monumental. So also from Josefa's presentation, you know, there were so many things that were not grand by the space, but they were monumental by its little aspects. And we cannot consider that a scale can bring every aspect of monumentality, but it can definitely bring grandeur.
Well said. Very well said. Very well said. Shaurya, do you think that a normal design structure can be made monumental by social media? The more you discuss, the more you publicize, the more you talk about it, create a hype, and it becomes monumental. Is it possible? Is it happening? Is it not your perception?
Like, if you're creating something and if social media is helping you to, you know, make it larger than life, then it is fake, I would say. I think that everyone's experience, the person visiting to that place, his experience, or people living in that space, their experience is more important than this. I'm totally not against social media. I'm very much on that, very active also. But again, yeah, I don't want to no, I don't want anybody to judge anybody's work based on social media platform.
Yeah, Ishan?
Yeah, no, there has been, I forget the name of the project, but social media definitely has played a massive role in bringing architecture and design to the forefront. I mean, our field used to be the master architect, used to be one single guy designing each and every detail, like Frank Lloyd Wright. He did the furniture, did the lighting, and it was a very exclusive profession. And what social media has done has that it's sort of democratized what our field really is. It's open to the public, right? It's open to critique, it's open to things like that. And so through social media, you can actually make something like a small boathouse, for example. You know, there's an actual example of this. An architect was explaining how he, even before the project was built, his town, the people in his town sort of contributed to how that boathouse, which today has become a public square, has become an entertainment zone. But just through his renderings, which he put up on Instagram, people commented, why don't we have this? Why don't we do that? Why don't we include certain things in this? And that's what the architect did. And eventually, once it was built, everyone in that small town had participated in the whole design. So it became this huge sensation where actually social media played a big role. So it can happen, it's possible. Yeah.
Perfect view. So, I mean, this is what it is about, right? You have one perspective and then you have various perspectives around that same point. Coming to you, Vaibhav. Scared, huh?
Yes, I mean, I'm in midst of all these architects, developer here.
No, nothing to be like that.
Don't know much about
You are
the
actually the
topic, but
person
I've heard
who actually keeps us all employed, so you should be happy about it. Having said that, you know, you're right there at the forefront. We are dreamers. As architects, we are dreamers, but you are the ones who are investing in our dreams and also your dreams for that matter. So if given a choice, three choices for your building, you would want it to be a showstopper. You would want it to be something wherein the people are extremely happy living in it, very inclusive about it, everything nice, but nobody looks at it. And the third, wherein it's kind of a combination of the two, but your architect says that we need to make it look good, we can compromise on the functions, it will cost the same. What would you invest?
this is an interesting question because it's like the 3 points of the triangle, right? On one side, who doesn't want to make something monumental or iconic or something that people are going to keep talking about for ages and years to come? On the other side, as a developer, well, you know how commercial aspect of any project is one thing, but at the same time, we also look at the user experience. In the end of the day, it's the people who are going to use that particular structure, building, or whatever that is. But I would say the third option, somewhere in the middle, like you need something that is functional, obviously, but you need uh, it, it's a debate between function and form, basically. You do need a certain amount of form to go with the function of a building or a layout or a plan or the project, everything put together. For me, it's the third option.
Very well said. So just going further up, if you are given a choice to make your building green and to make it iconic, where would you put your money?
See, that is something I need to think about.
You have to make it interesting, and you are the only developer here, so.
See, when I think of it in terms of being a developer, obviously I am in the business, everyone is in the business to make profits and to make money and everything. But at the same time, you also want to leave a legacy. Now, you can leave a legacy in both ways. You can either create something iconic, which is not green, or create something green, which may not be as iconic, you know. But looking at how the world is changing, and we, like, I look at the buildings from the past 100 years, for an example. Things have changed a lot. We have come from buildings that were made of the earth, of local materials, to, you know, now, as Dipen Bhai said, ACP sheets everywhere. So things are changing rapidly. What I believe is that green buildings or green solutions is the need of the hour for us.
Yeah, Ishan. Can I also add to that? So to make your life simpler, um, I think both see green architecture, iconic architecture, whatever it may be. But as we design buildings, we have to, of course, think about green and the how we can reduce the energy consumption, right? Through many techniques. There's passive techniques, which are again from our traditional architecture that we can really truly take inspiration from. Um, these sort of things where you put in your money in a building, and then you have to look at it long term, right? You look at how much energy you're actually saving. So today the payback time on these things have drastically reduced because of the technology that we have brought in, which is added to all the passive techniques. So in fact, you'll be saving money after some time and you can build your building again in 10 years. So it should be, you know, you should look at it that way. I think if you're looking at it from a financial perspective, which it has to be done. So
I think, Weber, you have answered very well. Believe me, it was actually pinpoint right. I mean, you're not taking sides, which is a very good thing in today's scenario. It is actually a balance of the two, which one should be using, because only time can tell how lasting it's going to be. So, just moving ahead to you, I mean, you have something to add, Weber?
I just wanted to add this one thing, that what Ishan said is correct. Uh, there are technologies and there are different ways, especially if you delve deep into the Indian architecture. Things from the past help us a lot. You know, internal courtyards to jalis, everything. Something as simple as a light shelf can increase the amount of light in an indoor space, where it can increase it, you know, 2 times. Or if a building with most number of windows facing south in India, it will get the maximum amount of light inside, which actually heats up the room. And then what do? We just crank up the aircon, right? Having jalis on that side, something as simple as that, it can change the dynamics.
Perfect. And having said that, it won't affect the monumentality of it as well, if it is properly designed, right? So you can have a mix of both. That's what I'm trying to get at.
What I think is, see, when we talk about, when I was actually researching a little about this topic yesterday, what I found is that there are two kind of monumental buildings. One which were built with the thought that this building or this project will turn out monumental, and those which were designed and were later monumentalized. Um, a simple example of it, like the former, would be the Sydney Opera House. It was, I think it was the governor of Sydney back in the 50s who said that, okay, we need to put Sydney on the map of the world. We need something great in Sydney which represents Sydney, the art, the culture that goes around here. And there was a competition held and everything. It took them 14 years to build the structure, but they did. And out of it, a lot of innovations came up, a lot of technology came out of it, especially with what Ovaru did with the entire structure and everything. And then there are buildings which are monumentalized at a later stage. I don't know if it would be a perfect example, but I think La Défense as like a development as a whole can be thought of one of those, because when it started back in the 70s or the 80s or something, Parisians were against that. That, okay, you know, we have a certain beauty to Paris and with all these modern buildings coming in, things are changing, but people got to, that point where they accepted it as a part of their city, their community, everything, and now it is a celebrated monument as a layout, as a whole, in Paris and even across the world, I think.
Just coming to you, what do you think about technology affecting monumentality of a structure or of interiors, whatever? How much role does technology have to play now?
I don't think it is affecting. In fact, there are a lot of research
What I mean, affecting, assisting.
assisting. Yes, absolutely. In that case, yeah, it is assisting. To give a brief on technology, the world is going ephemeral, and we really have to accept that any information quickly given is going to be absorbed faster than anything which is more elaborative. Very importantly, there are a lot of research agencies that now architects are hiring to understand AI and AR. If we talk about AR, AR is becoming like a very strong tool that can actually bring in inclusivity to the architecture. If we are trying to understand disabilities, or if we are trying to understand the differently abled people, how they perceive space, augmented reality definitely helps and comes into the picture, where tools like Samsung Gears, or we say a Microsoft, I forgot, it's HoloLens, Microsoft HoloLens, or we say Google Cardbox. There's so many things that I can actually tell you that whether the performance is going to create the inclusivity in the architecture or not. So I think, yes, assistance is definitely helping. It's just that we need that knowledge to be penetrated in our domain, or in our cities faster, so that we can inculcate those skills to develop such spaces.
Very well said. I'll just cite a very small example. I mean, like I said earlier, I was in Mandu yesterday, and in that, I think in the Jahaz Mahal or the Hindola Mahal, you clap at one point. Baz Bahadur Mahal, you clap at one point, and you're heard like 120 feet, right, Pratap? Because there was no technology of speakers back then. So you needed a particular height, you needed a particular curvature, you needed that space where space was not a problem, and then you could be heard by the Maharaja sitting 100 feet across, and the entire Praja could also listen to it. Now we have speakers. So do you think, Jagjeet, that the scale of monumentality would change, but the requirement won't, or the requirement won't get affected because of the technology coming in?
I think as per me, monumentality can be divided into two parts. One is like the godly monumentality, and one is the kingly monumentality. Now, if you talk about speakers, or when you come to the godly ones, it requires a lot of, so that was the part, it was made so that people can be congregated. A lot of people can be accumulated into one place, wherein like the kingly, it is more about the ego part, to show what power do I have, and what things do I have, and what kind of power do I have on you. Whereas in the godly ones, it's more to accumulate more people. So if I say there are a lot of these kind of dome structures over here in the past, a lot of dome structures have been made, and over the period of time, the Buckminster Fuller domes came and everything. So I think technology is surely assisting to make things more accessible, and to make things more inclusive, in fact, in the monumentality, in fact. So I think in technology, if you say, then in the parliament, in fact, so in all the desks of the MPs, you have that speaker. So you created that monumental architecture, you created that feeling of awe and entirety, but then you have technology to get to pass on your voice to someone. You cannot just depend upon the natural acoustics of the architecture which is there. So I think as per the scale, the requirements do change on what kind of scale you are. There is a lot of things. It's about the vision as well. It's not just about the audio, but it's about the vision. It's about your accessibility for what kind of people you're making. If it's about, what more blind people are going to come over there, so you need to have more tactile surfaces, which are, which are braille equipped, or textured surfaces, or something like that. So I think if you know that the scale is huge and the requirement is there to make it more inclusive, so I think it's a juxtaposition of both of them. If it's monumental, then you have to make it inclusive for all of them that are coming towards it. And technology has to be used as much as we can. There are ADA push buttons, so there's so many things which can be used these days. So I think as per technologies assisting the requirements of the monumentality which are changing these days.
Any take that you would want to give on this? Yeah.
I was leaving actually. Can you come again once more, please?
I'm saying that how much would technology make a difference in the present context? Like what I mean to say is like the monumentality of yesterday had different reason to become monumental. Like in Jahaz Mahal, or I mean that Baz Bahadur, the height was there so that the voice could travel. Now we have speakers, so you don't need that height. So will the notion of monumentality change because the requirement is no more that, it's been assisted by technology?
Yeah, it is definitely going to change because like functions have changed, people have changed. The use of that property, when those monuments were built, there was a different purpose to it. Now, when we talk about monumental architecture, we talk about something which becomes, again, it becomes iconic. It's not, there is no connection with that scale. There is no connection with that, I would say, yeah, there is no connection. Now when you talk about some iconic structure or your monumental structure, it is going to be based on the requirement, like present requirement. It is going to be based on present client's requirement. Like I always do, like I never overpower any of my client's requirement. It's going to be, that's going to be the first thing. Then if I get a chance, I add certain things to it. So again, coming back to your point, yeah, it's definitely going to be different than what. You don't need to have that height to create that kind of a feeling. You can have a height to create a different feeling.
Absolutely fine. So having said that, do you think that monumental architecture can be green? Think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, but because now again, definition of monumental architecture has changed. Like the presentation what you showed me, when I heard about the topic of this discussion, I was under the impression that monumental is monumental. Like, but with your presentation, I got enlightened. I got to understand. Yeah, okay, Zaha Hadid building can be considered into a monumental architecture. So, yeah, absolutely.
I just want to add, in the Jaipur fort, if you go, it's monumental, right? It's completely monumental, but then it's green as well. If you see, there were AC techniques over there during the Queen's room or the King's room. There were techniques where the water, how they delivered it, like in a way that, it came it naturally cool in the summers. There used to be rainwater harvesting. I think Ahmedabad, as anyone knows, it's the UNESCO World Heritage City. You will find there's water tanks, underground water tanks in all of the pole houses, in fact, and some of their havelis are so iconic, but then they've taken so much of care that all of the water which is used for cleaning or for kitchen purposes has to be used directly from there. So I think our history, our ancient architecture is monumental and green at the same time. I think it's just in the modern context, it's getting difficult for us to, to combine both of them. But I think we have already achieved a lot of great stuff in the past, like combining both of them together.
Absolutely. So they always say it very wisely that you have to look at the past to decide your future.
Absolutely.
So any final takes on the topic that you would want to have, like final things?
I just, I think it'll be, once the first time I heard about this topic and this discussion, I've been trying to wrap my head around why these two have to be different. They can be the same, work in the same building. But the more I sort of went into thinking about this, it took me back to my college days where we were really taught about these master architects, right? So Louis Kahn and Corbusier and Frank Lloyd Wright, Mies. I've studied in the States, so a lot of my history was to do with Western architecture. You can't have this discussion about monumentality without talking about Louis Kahn, because he spoke about the immeasurable, and and what is it really to be, create a great building that that goes through the, it starts with the immeasurable, it goes through the process of design, which is measurable ideas, and then finally there's a building that is again unmeasurable, like the, maybe the assembly building in Dhaka. If you all have seen, if you have, you should all see his documentary, My Architect, which was directed and filmed by his son. He's one of the reasons why I went into this field, because it showed me the power that architecture has on a very, on another level. But then I started thinking about why, I mean, college never taught us about inclusive architecture. We barely spoke about, accessibility and how spaces could affect the user. So I need to feel comfortable and feel safe if I'm in a school, for example. I'm a young kid. My mother runs a school for the hearing impaired children, and that was designed by KGA. I wasn't part of that project, but I don't know if they are in the audience here, but they were part of that design. And that school, in fact, has wonderful ideas about how it can really connect with the kids, in the sense that, each classroom is not linearly designed. It's more maybe circular or wide. So you can actually see each other. When you're hearing impaired, you should be able to see each other's faces, hand gestures, because that's how they communicate. So light also becomes very important. So I just wanted to sort of give a difference of my take between what monumental architecture, which is the immeasurable, right? And the feeling and the emotions, and what inclusive architecture is the measurable, actually. It's all evidence-based. So that would be my closing. Very well, thank you very much.
My take on monumental architecture, or this idea of the term monumentality, is that we have to embrace something other than power and permanence. So if we have to understand monumentality today, it is this effortless harmony of the building in today's context, which can have resilience, it can resonate to the past, but at the same time, it cumulates to the needs of communities today. So it's like an overall understanding on reflecting the past, but at the same time, it caters to the community's needs today.
Like I would say through an example, like for me, after independence until date, the most that building which includes both monumentality and inclusivity at the same time, I think it will be Corbusier's the Capitol Complex of Chandigarh. If you see it, there would the High Court spaces, or there are congregation spaces in the center, the hand symbol where you have created amphitheaters. Also, it has been designed on the principle of the modular man as also. So if you talk about the human scale, so there is human scale as well. Now there is this extra, this dome that is coming out of their parliament coming out. So that creates a feel of the monumentality. And there is accessibility in terms of there are so many of ramps for disabled anyone, the colors, there are primary colors to, for everyone that is coming up. So I think it's a perfect combination of monumentality, inclusivity, and accessibility in the modern times as well, for everyone, which is open for everyone. While if you say Gandhinagar's capital or the Secretariat is not that, it doesn't give you that much feeling of openness or, a feeling of welcome. I think inclusivity I think it should give you a feeling of welcome. If it doesn't give you a feel of welcome, it is not inclusive, I think.
Great.
So I have been, and I would love to work as inclusive architecture practice. I want to do that, but given a chance, I would want to add a monumental pinch of it. Super, super. Pinch to it.
Weber?
Obviously, what Shaurya said, like all of us in the profession, I'm a developer, everyone here is an architect, everyone does want to create something that is monumental in its own way. But what I really think is that from now on, as we move forward in time, inclusive architecture is something that is going to get more prominence. Even the monumental buildings that are going to come out from now going to have a very heavy aspect of inclusiveness in them. To talk about the past, say, starts with, 200, 300 years back. The design briefs were different. Now the design briefs are different. Now the times have changed. The globalization has made us a very small community. We have to think about everyone. We have to think about all kinds of people, everyone literally. So yes, it's a fact that monumental buildings will keep coming one after the other as times change, as governments change, as institutions change or are established. More and more monumental buildings are going to come through, but at the same time, they will be more and more inclusive.
Wonderful. Excellent, 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 guys. Anyone having any question, please? Can someone give the mic there?
Hi. Something I forgot to speak when I was there. Out of all discussion which we did earlier and then right now also, a nice perspective to hear everyone. According to me, what is monumental architecture? So according to me, after listening to everything, a small house of even smallest house of a 500 square feet or 1,000 square feet for a person who has put his all money, he has put everything on it, it is monumental for him. And if that is functional, that is inclusive. So I think that is the most important, that it is very perspective. The monumental word is a perspective word, and every smallest thing is monumental to the largest thing is monumental. And if that is inclusive, nothing, Sone pe suhaga. So that's what my take on this.
I think, Rahul, with your permission, the topic has been so enamoring, and I'm sure you will echo my sentiment. What do you say, people on the panel? Do you love the topic? All right. So, you have a question?
Good evening, everyone. Sir, I have a question which basically is coming out of both the panel discussions that went down over here today. So I, for one, came to understand how accessibility can interact with the monumentality of the building. Okay. And here, after listening to everyone, great learning session, without a doubt. But there's one, an urgent question in me: why do not we have an architectural vocabulary for accessibility? Why do we think so? Given that we have worked upon making the buildings accessible for the people who are differently abled, but what is the definition of that we take into consideration while designing public buildings, for example? Why do we only talk about accessibility in terms of elements like ramps or maybe holding rails, things like that? Why don't we have a specific vocabulary to architecture that defines accessibility regardless of the monumentality of the building?
Anybody want to answer that?
I wouldn't want to answer.
Okay. So
no, I think so. I mean, if you all agree that
accessibility. I mean, the gentleman is saying accessibility.
No, so we are an evolving economy. I mean, yesterday when we had problems with water getting wasted, now we are getting laws wherein you have to have a recharge well. So only with time, yesterday, air conditioners were a luxury. Today, it's a necessity. Before that, fans were a luxury. They were a necessity when we were kids. So we used to flaunt our mobile phone, and now our bike is having a mobile phone. So I think over a period of time, these things will become necessity, and they will be inculcated like the way the developed nations already have their bylaws. So we are a progressing economy, and we are actually reaching there faster than the earlier nations took the time. So I think it's okay.
I think for the architects' vocabulary, if you say, I think we all have gone through Newfords So I think we already have that, all that, that rules and dimensions and how to design and what to design when it comes to disabled and everything.
Trust a KGA designer to ask such a question. So he's in our office. Uh, so as he said, it's all there. It's all there, right? It's a matter of who's going to implement it in their building. Am I going to take the trouble to do that? Yeah, maybe. Is somebody else going to take the trouble? Maybe not. So it really depends on, firstly, as the architect, are you going to take the control to implement the things that are already listed down? Then there is, of course, the bylaws, right? So you will probably not get a occupancy certificate if you don't follow those things. But then there is a system, there is corruption, those sort of things that are happening, and we all know it. It's the reality. People do circumvent such things. So maybe we don't see it as much in our buildings.
So in such case, like when we talk about inclusivity, who all do we consider? Meaning differently abled people are there.
No, you cut through the strata of everyone, right? You only don't talk about people who are differently abled. You talk about the LGBTQ community. You talk about hearing impairment. You talk about visually impaired. So Gajra Cafe, I'm sure a lot of people know in Baroda. You've gone. It's for the queer community who are actually managing the whole cafe. And so that has made it very inclusive. So it's not only differently abled people. Yeah. I think we should stop it there.
No, my point was for the mentally differently abled people who are part of the society but are not receiving the similar thing as anyone else who are abled in that sense, basically. People who are maybe facing going through depressions, maybe going through bipolar, schizophrenia, tons of disorders out there.
But I think we will be accounting these one after the other. But I think your salary will be due on the 7th. Huh? So
yeah. So I would just say, Cindy, it's in your office. But Rahul, on a very lighter note, gentlemen, very nice question. But you have the luxury to dialogue with him. Ishan, please give him all the audience that you had. Rahul, one very before, Moiji and we were just having a chat. He got so intrigued and enamored with the topic that he penned down a poem on this. With everybody's permission, may I request Moiji to, जो आपने अपने सुरों से बांधा है, इसको बड़े अच्छे शब्दों में पिरोया है. आप सुनिए.
Sorry, पहले तो माजरत चाहूँगा. I mean, you can't be talking, taking your time out, coming in between dinner. But something I just wrote, Something I just wrote because I felt very strongly about it, It's about the topic only. Echoing what Chandrasekharji talked about, emotionality, belongingness to buildings which are stoic and resolute silent structures. So it's on that. It says, लोग कहते हैं हम बेजान इमारतें हैं. लोग कहते हैं हम बेजान इमारतें हैं. आजकल अक्सर चुप रहते हैं. सुन लेते हैं, सह लेते हैं. कभी रस्मों रिवाज में बिक जाते हैं, कभी हसरतों में आबाद हो जाते हैं, तो कभी तन्हाई के लिहाफ में सो जाते हैं. कहने को हम बेजान इमारतें हैं. कहीं किसी के निगाह में, कहीं किसी की निगाह में रोशन हो लेते हैं, तो कभी किसी की मैयत पर खामोश. मौसमों को, तारीखों को, सदियों को गुजरते देखा है. आलम फतेह और आलम शिकस्त दोनों हम में कैद है. कहीं आशिक की नज़र तो कहीं किसी के बेसबब आंसू. सब मेरी दीवारों में कैद हैं और लोग कहते हैं हम बेजान इमारतें हैं.
बहुत खूब, बहुत खूब. Rahul, what do you say? We have no words
I think
left.
no words, nothing to be said. Thank you everyone, because this is A wonderful, wonderful ending to a beautiful panel discussion.
क्या बात है मोहित जी.
Thank you, Mohit. Wonderful.
And big hand to this lovely panel as well. Yes. Thank you. Shiraz, where is our lovely host? Yeah.
Right here. And like Vibho sir said, thank you to this lovely panel. Indeed, it was the most intriguing panel discussion of this evening. Thank you so much to each one of you. And I request Mr. Bibhakar Jha from Shuko, India, and along with him, Mr. Anup Nair from MRF Vapocure Paints to please come on stage and felicitate our panelists. And to begin with, I'd like to invite Architect Ishan Grover, Principal Architect and Design Director from Karan Grover and Associates. Can we please have a huge round of applause while we felicitate our panelists? Center, center. Thank you so much. Next, we have Architect Jagjit Saluja, Founder and Principal Architect from Swabhiman. Thank you so much. Next, Architect Shaurya Patel, Principal Architect from Uneven. Thank you. Next, Architect Vaibhavi Thakkar Desai, Principal Designer, Educator, and Proprietor TV Studio Designs and Consultants, LLP. And last but not the least, we have Architect Vaibhav Khatri, Director of Vaibhav Corporation. Not an architect. Yeah, can we have a group picture? Thank you so much to everyone, and a very, very special thank you to our curator, Architect Rahul Dalvi. And that wraps up Design Debate Vadodara edition. And it has been a joy, and you all have been an absolutely wonderful audience, and I thank you all for your patience. From me and the entire team at ITP Media, I'd like to thank our title partner, Jaguar India, associate partner, Shuko India, category partner, MRF Vapocure Paints. Thank you all for your support, and of course, I'd like to thank again our esteemed audience, our very dear keynote and curator, and all the panelists for taking time to making this event a phenomenal success. Vadodara, it was indeed a pleasure, and we hope to see you again. Thank you.